What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast number 554. So what I have started doing, Johnny, is just naming the podcasts one at a time instead of doing the side podcast. Just so you know, I forgot to say that, but it helps. It helps Spotify. If I did the side podcast, there'd be people who were either confused or who were like, "Oh, well, it's not the main one." And once I started naming it that, more people were showing up and being like, "Oh, I didn't even know this was I thought maybe this was just some junk podcast, or something like that." And I'm like,
okay.
No,
makes sense.
That is what it is. Yeah. It's definitely a junk podcast.
Yeah.
For sure. But at the same time, I asked people what they've been playing. Let's see. Arc Raiders, Hell Clock. Outer World, Hell Clock. Have you heard of Hell Clock?
No. First time.
Okay.
Checking it out now.
Whoa, what's up, Pentagon Fortress? Holy shit, man. I remember you. How's it going, man? What's up, everybody? Been playing Pacific Drive mostly with Outer Worlds 2 and Power Wash 2, BF6, Call of Duty. Another Arc Raiders, PoE 2. Pillars of Eternity 2? Or Path of Exile 2? I'm going to go
You never know with that one.
Dude, the acronyms, right?
Pick your,
acronyms
pick your
crazy. Kigoruse is doing Dispatch, Outer Worlds 2, GW2. Was that Guild Wars? God of War 2?
Oh,
Guild Wars? God of War 2? I would go with Guild Wars, I think.
probably Guild Wars.
Except he replayed all of Tomb Raider recently in the stream. Well, anyway, Fallout 4 and Tales of Zillia. I don't know. That name always sounds like some kind of scientific Latin name for a female body part. Zillia.
I get confused with all the Tales games. You have Tales and then Tales.
Sure.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of those. Path of Exile 2 is so good. Still haven't finished Otai. I'm assuming he means Yotai, unless it's a completely different game, which would be amazing and just screw up all the naming conventions even more. I'll move you down a little bit so you're matched up. So we have a bunch to talk about, man. Call of Duty came out. We got some reviews to talk about and some impressions for that. Pretty short ones for me, but I have dived in a little bit. We have a bunch of news. We have the Ubisoft weird delay of their financials, but that's probably going to turn out to, who knows what that'll be. We have all of the stuff about the Gabecube. The Valve Gabecube got announced. Let's dive into that right away. Actually, I do want to thank, before we begin, I don't want anybody feeling like I do not appreciate this because we asked for it. I want to thank very much Frankie, James, and Nick, who gave some subscriptions or memberships to the YouTube channel right at the end of the last podcast, quite literally at the end. So I didn't get to thank them. So I do want to thank you guys. You're helping us get to the goal we have, which is keeping the channel sustainable in today's current market, which is becoming almost impossible. Pentagon Fortress says, Ghost of Yotai, Leave It Alone, Power Wash Sim 1, and Light Up the Town. I played Stalker, getting ready for Stalker 2, which releases on PS5 next week. Damn, that's crazy. All right, so what'd you think? Let's just dive into the Gabecube, man. So what'd you think about this?
Yeah,
Let's go with the Gabecube first, then we'll go with the frame, and then we'll go with the controller. Does that sound like a...
Yeah.
Okay. What are your personal thoughts on the Gabecube itself? Look, power, and whatever.
I love the look. I don't know if it's... I always laugh because of that thing you say, am I the only one? No, absolutely
never
not.
On the internet, right.
Yeah, other people also like it. I like the simplistic square. I mean, I like the Xbox one too, the rectangular. I think it's clean.
Yep.
The matte black to me works great. Will fit in any living room. And I like the form factor because it's compact. You could really put that sucker anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think they said it was 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck. Kind of, I guess, take that with a grain of salt, but it does mean you will play some stuff in decent, maybe not 60 FPS, but depending on the game, you could have a pretty good experience.
Yes.
Especially if your TV has some decent up-res, technology, stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Actually, I thought that, to me, for someone looking for a budget gaming setup, that's compelling.
Yeah,
I think I
can see
like that. Now, if you ask me, would you get like an Xbox or the Gabecube or a PS5? I'm assuming you will be cheaper than a PS5, but I would probably still go for one of the bigger consoles, you know, PS5, Xbox, if I was gonna have the one gaming system. But hey, if you have like one extra TV, you wanna have a gaming system on hooked up to, it could be a cool little
Mm-hmm.
extra gaming system for you. I don't see it as a primary for most people, but I think it could be a cool addition.
Yeah, I like the
Thoughts?
form factor a lot. I'm a big fan of just square ass stuff, and I think that that's probably the best part about it is the form factor. I don't mean the best part as in like it's the only good thing. I just mean when I saw it, I was like, boom, I like that. It does, you know, no Crown of Sauron bullshit, no PlayStation. You know, we want a round top, so you can't put something on top of us, which admittedly is a smart marketing design, but is quite literally speaks volumes for how, you know, each company works. Cost is unfortunately going to be pretty extremely high. It sounds like they, when they were talking to Tested, who probably had the most outright realistic thought patterns about what went on, they certainly didn't have the blinders on that you saw a lot of people who were like, this is going to hit 40, you know, or 60 FPS at 4K for every single game without, you know, you just saw this crazy shit. I guess the story is that Valve said they're hoping that it'll be, you know, at an adequate price for a machine of that type. And you look at the Chinese devices and you're thinking probably $699. If they get $499, it'd be great. Their competition is insane right now. Their competition is on sale, and their competition probably, at least looking at what the report was for how their games performed, the competition is where they are now, let alone in 2026, which that's not really Valve's fault. That's where we are with tech right now. Tech moves fast, and the Chinese companies move faster, and their releases of big systems mean they drop the small systems to insanely low prices. And you know, that's one thing. I think for what it is, they made it clear FSR is required to get 60 FPS. Fine, whatever. It's look at how small the device is. It's fine. I have a Fire Cube, and that thing plays some games and it streams quite well, which is what you know the Steam Deck will do, or the Steam machine will do. I think the one thing I'm really worried about is Steam streaming is horrendous. They have a ton of inefficiencies, and there's all these really good technical breakdowns of how bad it is and what they need to fix to achieve Apollo, Artemis, Sunshine, GeForce, whatever, to achieve that and get it sort of stable. Microsoft's got their own issues. So those two companies both have issues. If they can get that solidified, so it's a streaming machine, blah, 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 you're able to just jump in there. And if the price is right, it could be great. Unfortunately, its biggest caveat and why I am not interested in it as any kind of gaming device overall is that it's got 8 megs or 8 gigs of VRAM, which is insanely low, and there really isn't any fixes for VRAM. So you know how you get efficiencies, somebody will be like, hey, here's an INI file, it fixes this with this engine. The problem with VRAM, and why you don't see like more VRAM mods, like I have the 4090 with 48 gigs for AI learning and stuff like that, that requires a ton of work, because you can't just like go in and fix VRAM. It's one of the particular things that's quite troublesome for being able to just,
it's like a height requirement at a roller coaster.
Yeah. And
you gotta.
I'll read to you something that I thought was interesting that directly pertains to that problem, which is during a discussion about basically the total amount of the total amount of memory that's out there, right? So this is this is basically how much memory is out there, what people can expect to see and be able to play, and be able to get in their devices. And I posted it in our news section, but basically it says, speaking during a company's most recent earnings call, memory manufacturer chief C. Wallace said, we're facing what has never happened before in history. HDD, DRAM, HPE, HPM, NAND, all in severe shortages past 2006. Most of all capacity is already sold. So I think I froze because I moved us. Give me 1 second. So I think that's probably the biggest, like what would be considered the biggest problem that we have going in the future is that we're looking at a situation where hopefully we start moving again. We're looking at a situation where like the actual hardware itself may be difficult to, continue to deliver.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to see, man. Like I'm hoping that it all gets sort of taken care of and we somehow find a way to maybe do some more VRAM in it. But I have a feeling what everybody should expect with the VRAM situation is a version 2.0 that has more VRAM. That would be my assumption. Is we'll just get a stepped up version with more VRAM. So we'll have to see how that goes. Also, did you notice that they said that they've separated and they have their own puck for Bluetooth? Yeah, so that indicates to me they're having problems most likely with all of the signal interference that they're going to have because they're going to stream your frame will be able to stream to this or from this. Makes me think that most likely they're getting some crosstalk. So because having your own puck in there is a little weird, but they did state it's lower than 5 milliseconds for your. So that's like in the really good settings for your PS5 controller, which is a very good low latency controller. So that's cool. That'll make it so that any turnaround streaming is super fast or feels faster.
I've had a lot of those problems with onboard Bluetooth, so it does make sense to me.
Yeah,
that they would need a separate.
Anybody doing onboard Bluetooth is absolutely a crazy, man.
You're asking for it. Yeah,
you're asking for some trouble, man. That doesn't seem to be
I think at that price point, it's a pretty hard sell. I don't know how you feel, but I just think people would prefer to get whether it's a PS5 or Xbox, unless you have a very big Steam library, and this unlocks for you a big pool of games you can play, on the game box, on the Gabe box. That could be a cool case for people.
Right. Well,
but I think on average,
you mentioned something. You did say something that I think speaks to what they're trying to do. They stated that it was 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck. It's got 2 layers of compatibility currently, and that's pretty rough. So that means you're going to be sucking a lot of performance out while you're trying to get the ARM to be able to, play your old games. Because remember, it's using all these devices. Well, wait a minute. One's using ARM, one's not. So, okay, so that'll be for the frame. Sorry. So they're saying 6 times the Steam Deck. And when I was looking at, like, getting a 4K game, you're talking about a massive pixel difference to get a game up to 4K, all that kind of stuff. I think 6...
Yeah.
I think 6 is pretty good, and it's what we know the Xbox is doing. The Xbox's giant APU they're doing isn't just because they want an APU that's massive. It's because they know that in their box that they're going to deliver, they have to make sure that their system is prepared to still deliver good games and good, I guess you would call it, equal to performance games for 2 competitors or 3 or 4 competitors that will be popping up with their own specific hardware and software to sort of, you have a more powerful system because a competitor's game, which is awesome, you want on yours, and you need to emulate it in some way. Not really emulate it, but you need to make sure that you can make up for any inefficiencies on your box. Microsoft is doing that. Steam Deck, the Steam Machine seems like it's doing that, or the Gabecube. I think 6 times makes sense because really, regardless of any optimizations the Steam Deck has, it is super low power. Like, it doesn't matter. In fact, I know people get mad when I say it's low power. It is low power. You should be happy. They're very good at doing efficiencies. That's what you want. And that speaks volumes. So when they say it's 6 times more powerful, they didn't say in what way, because it's certainly not VRAM. So
True.
You have to look at what they mean by more powerful. What I take it as is really newer stuff, smaller stuff, cooler stuff, as in heat, and more efficiencies just altogether. It really is a Steam Deck in a box. It's like a Steam Deck 2
that's such a good point. And that's why I said take it with a grain of salt too, because what metric could they be referring to? It could be 4 or 5 different things.
Yeah.
Is it the CPU? Is it the cores? Is it your GPU flops? It's just, and all of those would mean different things. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, but if anybody wants to see probably the most realistic look at all these, I think Tested did a really good job. They always do. It's Adam Savage's YouTube channel. They usually do VR, but they cover new tech, and they did a really good job on covering, ignoring Valve's marketing speak, because there was marketing speak in there. Valve is just as, if not, many times, some of the stuff they say, you're like, wow,
they're all guilty of it.
Yeah, they're all guilty of it. So, but I like the size. I think the price is going to be the main thing. And then again, 8 gigs of VRAM is ridiculously low, regardless of anything. If I owned some with 8, I would tell you straight up, regardless if it works on some games, 8 is low and will be an issue going forward. It is an issue going forward. And pretty much every developer I talked to stated the same thing.
In prior games already, Alan Wake hit that.
Yeah, it was already hitting it.
It's not even talking about the future necessarily.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the look. They do a good job with that, I think. I like the idea of, I'm always looking at why you do something, whether it be TVs, because that's what I used to do, or what.
Yeah.
And the idea of the extra puck made me go, wait, what? Like, why are you artificially adding cost just for a controller? And then when you look at the frame, which we'll talk about in a second, I think things start to make sense, because you're going to have some dueling signals there. So
yes,
is that it with the Cube anyway? And then we'll just jump to the frame?
Look, I think that's it. I think the big picture is that you have this ecosystem where if you're really bought in, you have all your games. I mean, I have over 200 games, maybe 300 games on Steam. I know a lot of people do, because over time you just accumulate them.
Yeah.
I think that's the most compelling aspect of all this, is that you have all these devices hooked up. They're kind of like, plug and play, right? So it's similar to an Xbox, but you have your full library of games. And whether you're playing on the Frame or on the Gabecube, you're kind of, one press away from any game you got in your backlog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the better things, is that, it's just going to be one more device for people to be able to get in if they want. And it replaces the best part about this. So this is my personal opinion. So, has this changed the market? No. But what it does do is it adds to a market that frequently you get maybe Google and then the Amazon GameCube, or the Amazon Cubes, whatever they're called, or the Fire Sticks. Those aren't the greatest options. And so to me, when you look at this kind of, you look at this particular device, it's like, okay, that's cool, because Amazon has gone sort of the opposite way and become more restrictive. And at least with this, I would assume it's not going to be restrictive.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see if that's true or not. That's just my guess, is they won't be restrictive. I don't see them doing that unless there's something that is completely out of the ordinary for them. So it'll be a less restrictive device that will replace some of the choices that we're stuck with, which is like, the Amazon Cube. I mean, I like my Amazon Cube, but it doesn't play a lot of games, and they're restricting it as we move forward. It sounds like, at least they've stated a couple times that it sounds like they've restricted it. So, or are going to. And then Carl of MG, thanks for the super chat, man. It absolutely helps the channel, and also, just makes us all feel like a family. $2 super chat. I love that we can call it the Gabecube. Made my day. Yeah, the Gabecube is, it's perfect. It's like, it almost feels, I swear to God, it almost feels like it was on purpose, right? It's like, it's just, it makes sense. So when you jump to the frame, what do you think about the frame? Like, what were your first thoughts when you saw the frame? And then if you know the technology, let's talk about that. If you don't, I can give you the basic device details, and then we can continue.
Yeah, you can remind me of some of the
you want me to do it real quick?
Specs that were important, if you want, before we talk about it.
They're above 2K pancake lenses, so it's tighter, which is nice. They are using a proprietary 6 gigahertz, basically a mini router, a lot like some of the devices we had seen in the past for their transmission, to keep it away from everything else, which is why you see most likely in the Steam Cube, in this new device, you see them doing their own, to make sure that they're probably making sure those channels are as far away as possible, because VR has to be legless or people are going to get all kinds of ill. On a small device like that, by the way, the reason why it's super important on a small device to have a puck in there that is proprietary is if you did what you just discussed, which is your motherboard Bluetooth, you're going to get interference. you can't, there isn't really a good device that's on a motherboard right now. But if you make your own, then you might be able to say, we're doing this. We're making something that is very specifically removing interferences from other devices so that we can make sure our VR headset, which might connect to it, might stream the games to that VR device. Then you can make sure that you don't have any kind of crosstalk, which is pretty important because crosstalk quite quickly can cause issues on VR. It's got I guess we'd call it Steam Audio 2.1, which is a new type of it's basically a lot like the Index, but improved audio. I think it's got more speakers. But the audio on the headset was always loved, I think. It's definitely 2 gens ago in its form factor, if not 3. It's definitely old looking. It's got, weirdly enough, they went with soft. They do have the battery on the back to help you. But that's been one of the more contentious parts where people were like, whoa, this device is weird. The oddest thing is Valve has been very open about the hatred of camera-based tracking, and they went with camera-based tracking. Now, that is not a dig on Valve. That is because this is a cost-efficient headset, which is why it is not a higher res, which is why it is not perfect when it comes to its vertical, or it's not trying to keep up with the massive devices. It can't be plugged into your PC. At least that's what they've stated so far. There's only 2 ways to play that so far, which is wireless or you play it on its own. So they did not say anything about, I would assume in the future somebody's going to write a driver for that if that's not day one.
Yeah.
But currently. So the frame is an odd one. What do you think though when you saw it? What were your ideas?
I mean, I had like 2 thoughts. First of all, I think it's going to be hard to drive games at that resolution really well, whether you're running natively on the frame or in your box.
Right.
Because that's a pretty, it's not the highest resolution, right, compared to others, but it's still a lot of pixels.
Still right up there, yeah.
Yeah. And the refresh rate can go up to 144, right? So, again, it's hard to drive games that fast on that resolution. So I'm just really suspicious of how well that's going to actually perform. I would love for it to do great, of course, and with stuff like FSR, different technologies that will help you get you there. That's awesome if it works. That's a bit suspect for me. What I did like, though, is the idea of a simpler, easier access to all your games.
Yeah.
Because I do find, I have the Pico, but I've had the Lenovo one, and, I've seen some other systems, and there's always a bit of friction to get to your games. You got to set up, 2-3 different things to actually be able to now stream from your PC to the thing. And if you're trying to play directly on the headset, then it's maybe even not possible for some libraries. So it's always a bit one step too far that I don't turn it on, if that makes sense.
I absolutely. Yeah,
and I feel like
VR makes
the reduction, making it a bit easier, because it's always plugged on that box.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're gonna play it. You just put it on and you got your library right there. You click and play. That, to me, it's almost enticing in that sense.
Yeah.
Because of the lower friction.
Yeah. I think the big plus I saw was foveated streaming versus foveated eye rendering. Now, we can assume, looking at their past, it won't work great day one. Their stuff has not worked great day one. VR is very hard. I don't know of anybody who's worked great day one in the VR space. That's just being honest towards VR hardware. They have good hardware. But even they have had to continually adjust and fix and move. And, I think they looked at their devices and were like, this headset's going to be expensive. They stated they don't even know. And they're trying to figure out a way to get it lower than the Index. So you're talking $1,100. That is weird, when I expected, and many people expected, them to announce it today and sell it today. And the reason why is because in 2026, you're going to have other headsets, and everybody's going to be aiming at that device and go, okay, we're going to offer a smaller device at $90, or we're going to blah, blah, blah. But when you look at what they did with the cameras, I think the cameras is the most important idea. When I came out of it and looked at it, I was like, okay, that's a cost-cutting measure of a pretty extreme amount, not only from them, but also to the consumer. Less money.
Yeah.
You know, you're not buying those fucking things that
The
stuck
towers.
up. Yeah, right. There is going to be the wireless dongle and stuff like that. But overall, it's like, okay, that's a more cost-effective solution.
Yeah.
And they're having a hard time getting the cost-effective solution to be cost-effective, which
To even fit
that's the industry.
the current
That
price.
has nothing to do with Valve, man. It has nothing to do with Valve. That is quite literally just right now where everything is. The easiest way to do it is stuff like Kickstarter. Big Screen does it, where you get these devices that are like, okay, this device will do this, and you can get it for a cheaper price, but it won't be from, let's say, a big company like Valve. It's going to be from a smaller company, and therefore now you also have to worry about that. You have to worry about service and support. You know, what you do with Valve too. I mean, Valve's been laid on a ton of shit as well. You know, they're not perfect, but yeah, I liked it. I think the form factor is not for me. I think that technically that might be the major difficulty for me, is that as we've moved into the big screen devices, there's about 9 or 10 Chinese devices that are coming out. Would I get those? It's taking pictures of my face and sending it to the Chinese registry. I'm absolutely sure. Probably not. But that is their competition. But we'll have to see. I think, in all honesty, too, it's probably best to just look at it and say, this device is not. It's really for fans of Valve. It's not necessarily even for fans of VR, because it's for fans of Valve who like their stuff and who are comfortable sitting in their ecosystem for a while.
Yeah.
And it's another sign of the huge changes that are coming. I mean, this is one change that we had heard rumors of, and there are about 80 others. And I got to tell you, as of 2 years ago in February, when the first huge things I was hearing about Xbox were coming up, we were already going, those sound real. Like, those changes sound real. It doesn't sound, because it wasn't just Microsoft with the leaks. It was like you started seeing these leaks going, and that was 2.5 years ago. And now I think it's almost like the NVIDIA leak list. I think every one of these rumors have come true, and then the tariffs on top of it have. I think the big thing is a lot of these guys aimed for a non-tariff future, because no one saw that coming. And now that it's here, you're like, well, we still have to offer, it's a sunk cost of billions of dollars to develop whatever we're developing. We still have to offer it. And we're at this odd road where the competition is insanely high from everywhere. There's an Argentinian VR company. Like, you think of China, or you think of one of the other big conglomerate, kind of nations that's putting together a ton of stuff, trying to get it on the down low. And then you have these small podunk, companies somewhere who come up with a good idea. I think the best is foveated streaming. I can't wait to see how that works. Like, will it change the world? No, obviously not. But it's like, we've seen people like Luke Ross, who does the VR Patron, where he's rewritten entire, layer stacks and got VR to work better on devices. I'm hoping and assuming Valve looks at that and goes, okay, he's got a good idea here. Or this developer, John Carmack, says something, and they all put it together. Very light, though. Ugly. Not probably going to be comfortable for me, but super light for its device. Absolutely light, 435 grams. So that is I think our Picos weigh less. I could be wrong on that. They might weigh more. So that is a light ass weight device, and probably has better audio just because of their design chops with audio than 90% of headsets. So that's
and if it's quite light, then that goes into comfort as well, right? Yeah. So it could end up being quite comfortable just because of that too.
And then also, I'll read these, and then I want to mention the one huge caveat that's been brought up a ton of times. If I don't bring it up, people are going to die. Sully, welcome to the supporter Discord access. Thank you very much, as well as just dropping by to leave some money for cheese cubes. $19. Thank you very much, Sully. I appreciate it. As always, a big help. And I'll talk to you in chat, by the way. So here's the biggest problem, dude. And it's one of the few times I've seen the guys on Tested flummoxed by a choice, and that's ancient ass LCD screens and for the frame. and they were already bringing up that they have every caveat. And the one thing they could come away with was that it had to have been a cost-cutting measure, because it doesn't seem like it makes any sense to currently do that when you have 6, 7 other techs out there that are for your eyes to make the picture look better. And as somebody who has LCD, and I have micro OLED, and I have OLED VR devices, OLED's made some pretty big strides in brightness. And micro LED is awesome. You have all these other, that's an ancient ass tech. It really is. And no one's figured out a way around it. It's like, that is sort of, that is, of all the caveats, it is technically insurmountable. There isn't a way, because of the way it's done, there isn't a way around it other than a new
Can
tech.
I ask you something about that?
Yeah.
Because this is a bit ignorance on my side, but I feel like I've seen some LCD screens be way better than others. Like the Switch 2 actually has like a pretty good screen, even though it's LCD.
G Cloud, whatever, has a good screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not OLED.
So are those like under the hood? Are they like slightly different types of LCD technologies?
Good
or
pun.
just...
They're not under the hood. They're actually out in front of you, which is different than if it's on your eyes in an enclosed device. So if you get the game, if you get the G Cloud and you put a towel over your head, whatever, and you put it up there, you will still see all the same problems that you see anywhere else. It's that they've figured out different ways with contrasting and color, very good screens, and brightness. And so they've figured out ways to get that as bright as you can. And that's why you can play that G Cloud pretty much on your deck, and you can play it, maybe not perfectly. It's going to look a little blown out. But what happens is there's all kinds of tech they've tried, lower power, but you ultimately have those lit up no matter what. The one thing I did think was going to come in the future and hasn't, which is that so have you ever heard of sports mode on your TV, where it interspaces every single frame with a black frame insertion? You see it talked about in emulators. There were some ideas that with LED, there would be a way to basically, if there was no signal, block it with a piezoelectric screen. So the piezoelectric screen are those screens that look totally normal or maybe a little shaded, and then if you run an electronic signal through it, they turn black instantly. But the cost was higher than OLED. And you actually, because you're putting something there, you're quite literally removing one of the positives, which is brightness. So you're sort of at the end. And so now you're back at the square one. You might as well just go with OLED, or you might as well, whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I want to mention it, because there were a lot of people like, what the is going on with this thing? And watching, if you get a chance, watch Tested, because they're talking about some of the stuff and they're like, this is a little weird. And then they got to there, and he didn't even really have a script. He's like, I'm trying to figure out, I've thought about it for a couple hours. I'm trying. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because they're paid to go see these things. So you're going to see a lot of the over the top, this is changing the universe kind of stuff. And it's like, but for sure not. We need to be a little bit more, I think a little bit more realistic. But that being said, I think the cost is the biggest problem again, because you do get that device and you look at it and you're like, man, I need to know. And they don't know. They don't even know the price, which makes sense in our environment, but that's worrisome.
And competitors are so much lower in price.
Competitors are lower.
Pico 4, I got mine for maybe a third of the index price. Here, I know it's very different depending on region and sales and everything. But just say you have some really solid headsets for maybe half the price. It's rough. Yeah, it's very sad. We're definitely seeing these situations where you buy a device. We're buying devices. There's really multiple types of devices here, but really there's the device that was good enough today and its cost, the device that's good enough in 6 months and its cost in a year. And I think here what we're seeing, especially with the machine, is that device, it's in 2026 when that's coming out. So that's a huge problem there, because what is acceptable today, even, that's pretty low, especially for a future-looking device, a device that you want to plug your VR into. By the way, that's one of the things. You're going to be wanting to stream your game from that machine to the headset.
that could be an issue if you've got 8 gigs, you know, so you have those things, you have all these sets, and it's just a part of the industry. Every part of the industry, the only ones who are getting away with anything right now are the ones who have a ton of devices out there, which is like the Chinese manufacturers who have a very smart, like, sort of framework. I mean, dude, as somebody who has 3 or 4 mini PCs, I can tell you, they have different names. Those motherfuckers are all using the same motherboard. Like, I'm telling you, I've taken them apart. And they're the same fucking motherboard. They're different companies completely. They all found a good motherboard. That's why you're starting to see all these mini PCs dropping in price, because they all found one motherboard that does exactly what they want, which is like USB 4 for Oculink. You've got Oculink. You've got USB external GPU connections on those. You have a couple USB devices. You've got a pretty good Wi-Fi, and you can usually add an
put a
NVMe.
different cover on that,
and you can put a different cover
ship
on
it.
Yeah. So. But the frame, you know, there's some stuff to like there. This is going to sound weird. Looks matter no matter what your mama said. I think if it looked more futuristic, it might help a little bit, because it did look also like my grandmother's. And by the way, that's why I kept posting the picture of the grandmother. Not only did they use what looks like a grandmother?
It's bulky?
No, because it looks like it looks like the VR your grandma would tell you about. She'd be like, back in my day, this is the VR we used, and you're just like, whoa.
It's like Michael Douglas with the big phone and
dude,
like
and, what was it?
Wall Street?
No. It's the one where Demi Moore and him sleep together, and she goes and tries to sue
him.
It starts with a D. It ain't Dick. It's I can't remember the name. I'm going to say Dispatch, and that's the video game. But yeah, you got the drift. Do most companies know that Valve runs Steam? Probably not. Probably not, I would say, just because of the way things go. Hero on Business, what's up, sir? $5 super chat. Just popping in to say thank you for the podcast. Hope you guys are both well. Are you well, Johnny? Did you have a good week?
You know, I had a crack, Carrick. I'd say a solid 6.
Sorry. Apologies.
Disclosure.
Yeah, disclosure. Go ahead. You had a solid 6?
No, just one of those, like, you rock up with good intentions. The sex isn't great, but you agree to try it again next time.
Just happy to be there.
It's,
you know.
Yeah, happy to be there, having a crack. Yeah.
After Glow changed to post dim, right? It's not Afterglow anymore. Yeah, mine was shit, dude. Shit.
Yeah.
Dude, everything I did this week, I told Reg, and I got to hand it to Reg. You know Reg, he's a lot like me. We don't have a lot of empathy's there, but a lot of times in our brains, we're like, well, you're not starving right now, you know, right? So Reg and I jumped into, this was probably Tuesday, and I was already having, I mean, a ton of shit I was doing was costing money too, like failures. And I was in there, and I realized I was a bitch. I was trying not to, but like everything we talked about, I'm like, and then this happened. I got to hand it to that guy. He actually was like, oh man, which I don't think I've heard in a long time. And he was like, he was like, oh, so are you having this problem? And I actually enjoyed that talk a great deal, because I was like, I don't think I've ever heard.
Reg picking you up right there.
Yeah,
that's
I'll pick you up. It wasn't that. It was just that.
Why do we fall, Bruce?
Why do we fall? Why do we fall, Bruce? So we can get back up. But instead of like, it was. So we had a good talk about it. He actually helped me with like 6 things I was dealing with, because I was having all kinds of computer issues that were like, some were based on the software, somewhere I was having, you know, and he's like, hey, you might want to try this, blah, blah, blah. And he actually got me out of my funk in a couple places, not the others, because some of them were well beyond both of our means to fix. But yeah, this week's been rough. I would say generously, my week doesn't even rate out of a 10. It rates 1 to 6. 6 would have been, like, that's how bad it was. And I would say it was a 2. Like, it was
it's capping out at that 6
already. Let me tell you
already.
how bad it was. I went to bed last night. And as I left, I go, so today being Tuesday, and I heard everybody chuckle, and then Amutski or Kig goes, it's Friday. Or it's Thursday. Sorry, it's Thursday. And I was like, no, I mean, not I'm going to do something Thursday. I'm saying today being Tuesday. And they're like, no, dude, today is Thursday. And that's because I had worked through the weekend, and I just completely lost like 4 days. You know, it's one of those weeks where you lose 2 days in the span of a 12-second conversation.
Roughy McTuffy.
Yeah, it was rough. But anyway, so we got the Gabecube, we got the frame, and then we have the 4-thumbed controller, man. 4
Dude.
thumbs, dude. We're looking at the future. They
I
went
kept
GameCube and
imagining
went
like
above
an
and beyond.
octopus
or,
or
N64.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. So
That thing is huge too.
That
It
thing
just
is-
looks massive.
You know me though. I love the Duke controller. It's not as comfortable, but I like the giant,
dude.
chunky controllers. They stated there's an extra layer of fidelity there for RTS games, and I gotta say, man,
With
I sorta
the
dig the look.
haptic.
yeah, with the
The
haptic,
tactile
yeah, they said
stuff?
they've improved it a great deal. I sort of dig it. I sort of do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
sort of.
okay.
I mean, I
You're
don't
like
the look.
timidly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
have 4
timidly
thumbs,
seduced.
but the idea of playing an MMO, you know,
Yeah.
and like being able to do the camera well and maybe do, you know, grab you. It just depends, right? Grab units and stuff like that. It just
Yeah.
depends. But yeah, I got to admit, man, I'm genuinely. I mean, I'm
Dude,
not going
the
to say I'm
thing is,
super excited, but
As much as their tactile stuff is actually pretty good, you know, the
Yes.
haptic really
Mhm.
gives you a mapping of where you are and stuff. But I've never been able to make it work in a game better than just a normal joystick does
yeah,
to me.
Yeah, I will say I've had issues with that as well. That's why I guess I'm just hinging on their maybe improvements. I guess I'm hinging on the hope of improvements. That's my
Yeah. And the fact that you have 2 could be interesting. I mean, yeah, I don't know. On the Steam Deck, for example, I always find that the thing doesn't have enough throw. So in a way, I have to,
Oh, I hate
kind of,
short stick.
you know, go back to the starting
Length matters.
position and kind of do a bunch of run-ups with my thumb, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
It does make
So
sense.
those, yeah, improvements would be awesome if they can really nail it. And for some games, I can see it. Like maybe if you're aiming down sights and then you switch to that for like fine control,
Mhm.
I could be on board with that. And I could see it in some other niche games like maybe RTS or things like that with cursor like movements, box selecting different things.
I think it's crazy that their technology in the Steam Deck controller, even though it's technically pretty goddamn old, is way better than the PS5's
It is.
shit
It's
sensor
way better.
pad. It's
Dude.
like 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 times better. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So if they can figure out a way to make it so that it doesn't have the mistaken, where like if you touch and then roll your thumb, it doesn't move. See, some people
Sure.
may like that. Some people may like a touch pad where like if you were touching with your thumb and did this, maybe it goes diagonal. I don't like that. I like the idea of it being a true movement pad. But it has to understand and not leap from thumb fingerprint ridge to fingerprint ridge. So if you turn the fidelity up too much, that can actually happen. We're way past technology that can actually do that by the fold in your thumbprint. So it would be cool to see that thumb length shaming. I mean, I am, because like I am. That's the other thing. I don't know if my thumbs are long enough. So I won't be holding it sort of like a Harley, you know. It might be more like a sport bike where I have to hitch up on it so that my thumbs can hit both, because I would say they're average. But when I was talking to Sleeve, even he was having problems where he was like, it's going to be sort of weird to see. Like
Maybe you need to park that thing all together to be able to like
get a chest
move
strap.
your hands around it or say. Yeah.
By that point, you can just hook everything up to that thing. Just have a body system. Well, that's one cool thing about the Steam machine. The Gabecube is like what, 300 watts, I think they said. You know, we have laptops that are running in low power mode people use for VR. So like maybe you put the cube on your head and you go out there and play your VR. You know, you could. People are going to be making portable shit for this for sure. They're going to figure out a way to do it. Oregon Fresh said 40 hours of battery life in the frame controllers with one AA battery. Pretty easy now, especially with the mini turnoff. I think Microsoft is the one who patented that, but the patent's open, meaning they just sort of said, hey, we made this. But Microsoft's ability to make a battery last forever because of their hiatus system they've got. That's, if you read up on that, that thing is amazing. Like it senses micro deviations of like input and turns off for a second and turns back on, or basically it doesn't turn off, but whatever power saving mode it goes into, it's night and day compared to anything else. The Picos only have one, right? I think the Pico controllers only have one, and they last for a great deal of time too. So
yeah,
it'll be nice
they're
to
quite
see.
good.
The big thing is understanding if the AAA batteries or is a AA, if the AA batteries need to be high discharge or they need to be, or they don't need to be. Because I've noticed with the handheld controllers for a lot of the camera tracing ones, if you use a high discharge battery, those are batteries that don't wear out. They go, and then when they're low, they're done. And weirdly enough, those are actually pretty nice. They end up having a little bit better tracking. They just seem to overall work a little bit better for their short amount of time. So we'll just have to see, like, if that's the way it works. But I think my Pico, I switched to high discharge, or a higher discharge. That sounds really disgusting, but a higher discharge, so it doesn't slowly peter out in its power. So that's good. Eternal says the Steam controller is way too blocky for my hands. Here on Biz says it's nice to see them trying to change gaming from being a 3-platform race. I think that's extending a bit farther than I would say, especially with what they've offered. But I will say, they're entering an ecosystem where I don't feel they're changing anything other than adding another, because they aren't. They have a mini PC, VR, neither of which have any special abilities, and then they have the controller, which does. That's why I think when all this is said and done, Johnny, I was way more excited about the controller, because the other stuff I've seen and seen better, at least for what we've
hearing. Seen Steam OS. We know what it's like,
we know
exactly what to expect.
Yeah. But with that controller, if that thing, I mean, it'll never catch on big time. Nothing of this will. It'll sell whatever it sells, but it's not going to eclipse Windows or anything. But it'll sell what it'll sell. The nice thing, though, is I don't see anybody controlling specific things for the controller. But if people make really good profiles, it could be it could be pretty cool. Or what if you add buttons? You say the top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right are different buttons. You could have an extra 8 buttons on your controller. There's some stuff you can do. It does look long though. It's like that. It's like, right? It's like,
it's like wearing a full skirt, or
even not even like knee, not even form fitting, but
so these are your legs and you got gown. A full full gown.
Yeah. But no, it's cool, man. It's good to see it. That's not dissing on them. I just don't think a new competitor can even come in right now. I mean, especially with what the guys were saying about memory, we are in deep shit. Hopefully Hillsboro, Oregon, or down where Moodski is. I can't remember what city he's in, but they have a fab. They have a fab or two there. Hopefully we get some new fabs for memory, because if we don't, dude, we're going to be in dire
it's becoming
straits.
Like the big bottleneck
it's on
for
everything.
A lot of stuff.
It's on every single thing that you use in a VRAM, RAM, NVMe, CPU. They all use memory chips of some kind that are most likely sourced from some place. It's rough. Sound cards, for Christ's sake, everything. It's just your audio devices you and I use filled with chips. There's just Bluetooth speakers. Almost every single Bluetooth speaker to do any kind of signal processing chips. Now, that's not RAM and it's not a memory chip, but it's suffering under the same exact thing, which is when those memory chips go up and there's more demand, the fabs that make other things start to be looking at to be replaced. You start going, should we replace this fab that's making this thing, and go, and switch over?
I've seen those documentaries where they explain it's only a couple of factories creating these things, and we have all this industry depending on
those 4,
these low-level factories and stuff.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, because I'm sure you've looked into some of this, what is the bottleneck? Is it the raw materials that go into the manufacturing of those simpler parts, or is it more so the engineering is just complicated to create a new factory line?
Factory. So what initially happened was the deals are just so good for those factories, and by restricting it, we are facing the one thing that an economy that's worldwide faces. So they restricted it on purpose. You keep the prices at a certain point and you're good to go, and if an earthquake happens, you're fucked, but nobody worries about that shit, right? So you have these 4, and then as they continue to make processing chips, other companies make stuff that need it, and you sign a deal and you say, okay, we're paying 200 million for this. You want this in, you pay us 250. You pay us 250 million. We'll give you 80% of the production. We'll take 20% because we're at the end of our lifespan for this, whatever. So you do all these deals. The problem is that for the longest period of time, there wasn't a lot of growth there. There was DDR3, and then we went to DDR4, and you went to 5, and 5 isn't much better than 4 in a lot of consumer products. You'll see a lot of people still sticking with 4 for various reasons. Some are getting 5, but a lot of devices allow for both. You know, they allow for you to slot in both AMD. Then what happens on top of that is the technology for it. It's very hard to say, hey, guys, we have a new RAM technology and we want you to change everything. Windows is going to need to know how to run it. Motherboards are going to need to have support for it. Drivers are going to need to be rewritten for it. All this stuff. And it takes one of the big 4 to do that. And those 4 are making money from the prior styles. Now, they're all looking at the future. But then that's why you're stuck. And then the new ones come along, and fabs just don't make a ton of... Fabs cost billions of dollars to set up. I mean, setting up a fab...
The whole chain.
It took us 5 years to set up a fab. You know, from start to finish. Build out. It was building a building. But build out, do all... Yeah. Yeah, so it's... now, though, Microsoft, hate them all you want, but if they want to build a fab, it's going to be pretty fast. Because Microsoft, maybe Tesla... Sorry, Elon Musk, a couple people with the money... They can definitely get something built quick. The problem is, most likely it'll be a dirty fab, meaning you'll have a lot of failures until you clean it up and you get it so that there's just, you know, it's super clean and done really well. But
could that be possible, do you think, to do like in the US in the case of Tesla or whatever other company?
It will happen in the US. Like that's, regardless of anything that happens right now, US is definitely looking at returning a bunch of these kind of things.
Because of all the tariffs and stuff and friction, or
yeah, you definitely want to get all of these set up. And I mean, the big problem is you also have to tell the city you're building in that you're going to be building a fab, and fabs have chemicals in them that are not acceptable for humans to be around. So I mean, we had to don full suits. If you went under the fab, you had suits that were so protective because even one drop of something got on you, it'd fuck up your skin or your bone or whatever. There were all kinds of chemicals. And those are used for the processing. Those are used for etching. Those are used for... There's new types of etching coming, which sound pretty friggin' wicked, but those will be out for a while. So, yeah, and people are wanting to set them up, but licensure, all that kind of stuff. And by the way, you see it. You'll see a town like my town, Corvallis, Toledo, Newport, the Oregon side. They're very conscientious of their trees and their land and their whatever. So to build one, if you want to build one outside, then you have to get a bunch of your certifications, your licenses, all that kind of stuff. So they replace buildings. A lot of times that means tearing it down a building. Guess what happens when you tear down a building that had chemicals in it? Decon. So you have to decontaminate that. You have to remove that. And we got to see that firsthand, where we're decontaminating, basically tearing down a building that had chemicals in it, and all the difficulties and the specialists you have to hire. Bug Guy has done, I think it's Hero on Biz, but Bug Guy also has done that kind of stuff where you tear down a house that's got asbestos or whatever. You tear down a house that had meth in it. Any of those chemicals get into anything, you're hiring specialists who come in, which costs even more. So you have to decide what you want to do. Just depends on what building you're using. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. Like somebody just said, PC is already bad. Memory. He said, this is from Indmure. What's up, sir? Hope you're doing well. He says, memory is really bad. Building a new PC and 32 gigabytes cost me $200, which was on the cheap end, was $100 a few months ago. SSD prices are also going up. Yeah, SSD prices are going a little ridiculous too. I've noticed that.
Yeah, I've found that the prices have gone down, but that's also to do with availability, right? They just have a ton of this stuff in stock too. So like Amazon, they might be able to do sales on some of these things because they just have a ton of.
Do you know what's going to make sense? I'm not lying. Mark my words. At some point, it's going to make sense to buy items that are already on the market and take the stuff out of them and put them into your machine, because the item has not raised in price, but whatever's in it, there's something in it that will be worthwhile to buy the entire thing and switch over.
Wow.
Like memory. because
almost scavenging.
Almost scavenging, because
little
all the
parts.
mini PCs, most of them start, you can get 16 sometimes. Well, you can get 16, but 32. And if they're just sitting in there and you need 32 for a different device, or you need 64, your device has 4 slots, whatever, mini device to mini device, because they're a different RAM size. But yeah, I could see that happening very quickly. People are talking about controllers dying. Let's see what else we got. Bumpers are made of carton. That's from you. What did you mean?
It's always the. It's,
you mean like box?
The Microsoft controllers,
Yeah.
the bumpers always give out.
Yeah, definitely. Hope everybody in chat is doing well. I saw what you guys have been playing. What's your next most anticipated game? Next most anticipated game for chat. And then let's talk about some reviews. So about 78 to 80%, I think, was Call of Duty 7. Got to play the campaign. Campaign's definitely a mind fuck. It's definitely on the level of it's definitely
so is
weird.
it like
it's weird,
a bit supernatural or something, like some weird stuff?
It's today is when it comes out for a lot of people, so I don't even want to go that far, but I would just say
punt that for.
I would just say it's disjointed enough that I think people are going to be like, whoa, what the hell? Which I sort of liked, but I sort of didn't like.
Yeah.
I can definitely see why this one's going to be contentious as shit.
Interesting.
But after that, the end game stuff is pretty wicked. So you definitely have that. But I think it's one of those things where if the campaign had been great. I mean, great. If the campaign had been great, then you would have had the appreciation of experiencing the single player when perhaps you had not planned to. And now you're doing the end game multiplayer, right? That's not what's happening. What's happening now is that they are sitting on a campaign that is not great. And they're saying the greatness that you may like is at the end, and you have to play that. That is probably going to go down for a long time as being a problem, being a mistake on their part. I didn't have an issue with it initially, but as I played this one, I'm like, that does. So, but we'll just have to see. I don't know. Are you going to do it because it's Game Pass? You're going to jump in?
I don't have Game Pass right now, so I'll figure out if maybe I pick up 1 month of it, or I just buy the game outright. I do want to play it. I like the actor a lot. I'm curious how they're going to integrate that into the action, into the game itself. And I've seen enough that intrigues me about, like you were talking, the end game. And if we can make that work with some of our groups there in Discord, would be amazing, if we can.
I think the end game is where I'll be at for just general fun. It definitely is enjoyable. I think Game Pass is the best bet for somebody like you experiencing this who's not bought into it, because I've even seen some long-term fans like it, but I've definitely seen a lot of long-term fans be like, oh, this is weird.
Maybe a bit steep for the full price.
Yeah, I mean, if you can go Game Pass and, technically rent it to play and then get to the end and enjoy your fun at that I think that's probably the bet, because it also didn't just really spectacularly hit with critics either. Because in the past, there's been times where something's hit with critics, and then the gamers themselves I don't like the story. This one seems to be middling for everybody. Then with the other stuff, with the number of modes they've got being the highlight, because they have a ton of modes. Regardless of my love or dislike for Call of Duty, because I would say I'm more on the not necessarily a Call of Duty fan. I like particular ones. Yeah, the modes is insane. Also, they got some AI in the achievement. So you get these trophies, and apparently they used AI because some of them look weird.
Huh.
They definitely look weird. Yeah, you look at them, you're like, I don't quite, which is funny because I can make something in 1 second on most of the current chat, GPT, whatever, the art ones, not chat GPTs, be absolutely not look weird and not have any of the oddness. And so I don't know why they did, as a big company, if they were going to use it for that, why they chose the ones they chose. And they're also complex to the point of not making any sense. You look at them, you're like, if you go back and you look at let's say Halo indicators, it's Halo and I can't remember if it's a gun or a sword over the skull, and then 2. It's pretty easy, right? It's pretty easy to understand. This one, for some of the achievements or the medals you're getting, you're like, I don't even really know what that's trying to indicate. There's really no depth to it.
It's almost mysterious.
Yeah, Yeah, man, it ain't good. It ain't good at all, man. Yeah, it's weird. I've got my eye on Blood of the Dawnwalker. Dude, yeah, Blood of the Dawnwalker looks insane.
Yeah.
It's a shame Black Ops is no longer a historical war shooter. I don't know, man. As long as it wasn't 2, I'm fine, I guess. Like World War II. Really can't stand any more World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you can't win, because for every person who says that, there's another one who likes the non-historical.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, it's just hard to... You got to shoot for one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to... Yeah. Or if you do something that is all... You really got to hit it, right? You've got to... Yeah, you got to, like...
That too.
You need to nail it. Craig says he's excited for Exodus, Osiris Reborn, and whatever Larian are cooking. Oh, yeah. Larian's not cooking, man. They aren't even making a recipe right now. It's going to be a long time. Be a long time.
Yeah, they are like workshopping.
Yeah.
What type of food they want to have.
It's going to be a long
at a later time.
Yeah. Hey, which is fine,
But hey, look,
cook.
It's their process. They take quite a bit of time, but they make great games, right?
They do, but I will admit, sometimes when you're like, when they, I love their games. I do.
Yeah.
I love their games. One of the loved but not most loved is Baldur's Gate. I was nowhere near as in love with that as I was like their old Divine Divinity or something. They make good games though. However, when they made a couple games near each other, they weren't the greatest. Dragon Commander, Divine Divinity Dragon Commander, I think is what it was called. Not great. So like I see the extension that Baldur's Gate took and I'm like, all right, that seems to fit you guys. So I'm fine with you guys taking your time because even if I'm not like the biggest fan of whatever it is, you can tell the quality and you still really enjoy it. It may not just hit the perfect data points for you, but it's still very fun. Yeah, I say let them work as long as they want. I'm cool with that. I'm excited to see what they work on next. Good. I really like Sven. Less said the better about other people, but Sven is... I like his attitude.
Also powerful name, by the way. I think
Sven.
If you're born with the name Sven, you just have to do great things in life. It's just...
Or be a murderer. There's one or the other. I'm just joking. I don't know.
Could be.
I'm sure there's a Sven murderer. How about I was
Sven.
joking? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's a great guy. He's got to meet him just for a second. But got to watch him talk for 2 or 3 hours during the Baldur's Gate 3 original previews. And yeah, he's passionate about games. I can tell that too. Because I've gone to events where that's not what was happening. It was not passionate. It was like you
can't fake it, right?
I don't think you can. Yeah,
it's either there
or
have
you ever
for a long time
a fake smile or whatever? But I listen to voices and like the inflection and where people accidentally put emotion, or when somebody talks, their voice cracks because they're sad. There's all these things, right? And actors, no matter how good they are, take 50 takes to do those scenes. So you'll hear a lot of people say the myth of, well, they're just a good actor. Bullshit. Good actors take many scenes. It's not how it works. Yeah. So if that person's talking for 2 hours, no actor in the universe is going to do 2 hours of that.
You can't hold it for that long.
Especially if they're answering questions that are completely random that are coming into them. Yeah, you can't. So it's not the same thing. Inspiration is different than that. There's a magic to inspiration that, like, it alters the entire way a person talks about something, and you can see that excitement about something. Yeah.
Are they working on a specific project? Do we know if they have like?
We don't know the specific one that I know of. No.
Okay.
Haven't been told. If anybody in chat knows of any specific one, I'd love to know. But I don't think we've been told any specifics whatsoever about what they're working on, at least as of yet, which is fine. Hey, I also don't need to know. In fact, okay, let's talk about this. So we did Steam Deck, we did the controller, we did the frame, we did all that. That's out of the way. Anything for Call of Duty before we move on? Anything for...
No, I think let's revisit it next week. I'll have played it as well. And maybe we even do some multiplayer throughout the week if we can.
So something popped up. So, oh man, am I going to lose this thought? Because it was an important thought. We were talking about the timing on something. Last night the discussion popped up again. Would it be better if games only had a 3 to 6 month time frame before they were released. So the game, the game's coming out. Now, of course, this would break right away. Somebody would accidentally announce something, think they were coming in 6 months, and they wouldn't come. So it'll never be perfect. But I heard a lot of complaints last night where people were saying, man, I just sort of wish I didn't know what games were coming. And I'm still, I don't know if I'm on board with that, man. The reason why it started with a discussion about E3, and I stated I missed parts of E3, which was everybody at once talking about a thing and many things to the point to where you can't always cover it. And now what I feel like is with the Nintendo Direct and the Sony Direct and the Microsoft monthlies, that ultimately I feel like even game coverage is, let's talk about this one thing in 5 different ways with 5 different fake clickbait titles, versus E3, where you would have so many things being shown and covered that people were bouncing. Here's a game, there's a game, there's a game. And then when you return back to game 1 out of 10, it feels fresh again, because you didn't just say, something strange is going on with this, we need to talk about this, blah, blah, blah. And you're hitting the same thing 4 times in a week, or 4 times in 2 weeks, or 4 times in 4 weeks. But then the discussion came up of that, people saw something at E3 that took 6 years and still not out. But I feel like that's not it happens, but I feel like there's a lot of games that we do see and do come out. I feel like there's this uncomfortable truth to that. It doesn't happen as much as we think it does. It's just we remember the ones that aren't there, because
we remember we have a selection a bias, right, towards those things, where all the ones that worked perfectly, they just released on the expected date. We're not remembering those, but especially ones where we're anticipating them, then by definition we're gonna remember those times.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird situation. Would you like it so that, let's say there was a rule, or a way to do a rule. Would you like it so that you couldn't announce your game more than a year prior? Would you actually?
What I would like is the option. Because I think for a long time, for stakeholders' sake, you had to give a date, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have to say, hey, we got ROI on this, return on investment at this date. Mm-hmm. I think that for the longest time, that was the main reason. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, pretty much was.
And we've seen now where it's maybe a bit looser, where they can now move the date and it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
We've seen some people do time frames, but I think ultimately they always give a specific date once it's close enough, which I'm okay with. I like the option of being able to give a time frame, because what I appreciate is qualifying your level of confidence.
Yeah.
And just being transparent with that.
True. Yeah, I get that.
If you're in a place in your development where just a lot of moving parts, you're trying to, turn it into the best thing, but you're just not sure where it's going to land. I love the option for a dev to say, it's going to be in this time frame, but we don't have it nailed yet.
Right.
And then they can kind of give you a better date later on, as opposed to giving you a date out of their ass. And that's just it's not gonna be correct. So I like the option, but I think that ultimately, as you get closer, you always give a specific date. It would make no sense for you to plan a release around this, cloud of possibilities.
Yeah.
Where your game is, there's a collection of universes where your game is coming out on different days.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I don't think there's really any. Yeah, no, I agree with all that overall. I think technically it's weird because gamers in particular, because I do exist in 2 other entertainment spectrums, and you don't hear that.
I thought you were going to say in 2 other universes.
No,
sorry.
Yeah, a lot of caffeine. Yeah. But you just don't see the weird cocksure style of posting that we see in gaming, which is like, how dare you do this thing? And maybe it's because we have so many we have so many that people have got tired of it or whatever, but it is weird to not see such an attitude towards the developers of like, oh my God, I can't believe you delayed. It must be bad, blah, blah, blah. Where in a lot of places, if something's delayed, they're like, oh, okay. And they just, I don't know what it is about games in particular, but there's something about games in particular where everybody seems to know how they're made and how difficult they are to make, but then doesn't have any shame.
Everybody's a game
attacking.
dev.
Everybody's a game dev. Yeah. I've played a game, so technically I'm a developer myself. It's like, no, you are not. But for whatever reason, there's this dichotomy that goes along. So I was just trying to figure out what would be the right, or what would feel better. I think a time frame of 3 months is good. We're doing this. We're doing this in the, the fall, the last season of, winter or whatever of 2026, and you just be done with it. Say that's, to come out at some point.
I think also just games are not critical
in parts of the infrastructure.
Industry. Your life doesn't hinge on a game. I know sometimes people speak as if it does, but your life doesn't hinge on a game coming out or not coming out, or having or not having an LGBT character. All these things are tiny in the scope of real urgent industries, and so that's also why, by the way, we see maintenance causing outages for game servers.
Yeah, that's true.
Like 2 hours, our game is down. Try to do that in any other industry. Like you come to the fintech sector in software engineering, where you have like the financial software,
right,
where people pay like millions, and you say, hey, we're going to be down for 2 hours where we do some maintenance. Excuse me? Yeah. No, you are
absolutely not going to be down for 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely not. So it's always funny. I always like to bring it back to that, to kind of ground people in that, yes, we love games. They are important for us, but ultimately it's not that big of a deal. If they give you a time frame, right, I'm perfectly okay with that. In fact, I kind of like the idea of, hey, it's a fall game or it's a summer game. And I track that pretty easily in my mind,
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with all that. I definitely think that this is my job. Anybody should take it serious. For example, whenever anybody says I'm interested in using AI to do medicine, people be like, I can't believe you're allowing medicine slop. And I'm like, okay, it's already done protein folding. If anybody was dumb enough to call that slop, they might as well just walk off a pier. But when you look at it, I'm like, dude, if there's anybody, I have 55 channels as of right now copying my voice online. If there's anybody who should be against it, it's me, or against it completely. And I'm like, nah, there's some ways where, you could probably be able to do this or that. The same thing happens with game reviews. My job or game coverage, we're doing a podcast, get paid for that. You do a review, you do your videos. All that should matter. But ultimately, I still know that if the shit hits the fan, who's going first? The bearded beanie wearing piece of shit on YouTube that isn't a real part of any infrastructure at all. It's entertainment, but there's other types of entertainment you'd still be able to get. And they don't ultimately matter as much. And games are still the biggest industry, but you could cut it in half and still have a shit ton of games that are beyond belief more than we had years prior. If you cut it in half, meaning 50% of all video game output stopped today, you would still have more than double what we had 4 years ago, which is mind-numbing when you look at the numbers. Yeah.
Is that real? That's a real
That is.
number?
Oh, it's more. It's more. I mean, just looking at Steam alone, and again, you have to cover games because I can't say that there weren't a ton of shit games back in the Genesis days. You'll hear people say that, but they're liars. I lived through it. I can tell you. There were many, a really shameful moment of turning on a game that was certified and everything by Nintendo for quality. And you're like, whoever is certifying this for quality at Nintendo, they need to be certified for quality because they fucking suck. Yeah. So, yeah, we just have a ton of games out now, man. It's crazy. One of the cool things I saw is, I think his name's Priscilla. I could be wrong. Matt, he's a analyst, and he did a podcast yesterday. We were talking about some of the crazy shit that's happened this year when it comes to sales, expectations, things that have changed in the industry, talking about the number of games coming out and how big they are. But here's the crazy thing. In the midst of this entire discussion, he mentions a game I never thought I would hear mentioned again, other than me saying I played occasionally. out of the blue, he's like, oh, and by the way, big change happened in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, where they basically, another company started taking it over, and it has done gangbusters. And to hear him talking about like Call of Duty and Battlefield, the big games, Dispatch he mentioned, and then to hear him say Knights of the Old Republic had a huge bump because of this change and some events they ran. I was like, I'm sorry, what world are we living in? How did that pop back up on the rate? By the way, great game. I'm just saying, I never in a million years would I've even thought of mentioning that game or thought it would be mentioned again, other than its concurrents are lower than it was day one, or, you know, the typical bullshit. So yeah, so that was pretty interesting, man, to hear him say that. That was a valid surprise. That was nice. But he covered a lot of the stuff about the industry, including the number of games. And we saw this morning, Microsoft released, well, yesterday I posted it, but Microsoft released their game development guidebook that's no longer locked to being official devs, which is a sign of the future for sure. Definitely some stuff happening there. So we're seeing all of these changes where, like, especially Microsoft is sort of leading the way on some of these changes, but you're seeing other companies do it too, you know, for sure. And Steam did it first. You know, there's technically self-published games, you know, on itch.
Yep.
So we're seeing these changes to the industry, which indicates lots more games, just not always better quality. You know, a little harder to find the quality games.
Do you think that Steam games are going to be exclusive to the Steam machine and the hardware?
Nope.
Or are they going to go to
prepare
Xbox?
To see those on consoles or ACON? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That is done. That is done. They're like, no one. Look at what just happened this morning with Helldivers. Helldivers interview came out. Very first question they were asked is how it came about that Helldivers came on Xbox and did so well. And they were like, listen, we sort of were talking about it, but that was Sony. Sony was like, oh, look, somebody's making money on our store and it's a shit ton. Why don't we make some money on your store? That's where it's going in the future. Yeah, for sure.
Huh.
I mean, I don't even know why we would even be surprised because it's already gone there, other than Nintendo, who's the last holdout. But you'll see exclusive games. Microsoft's made it clear that I think Forza, the next one, is exclusive for a small amount of time. You're going to see those. But these companies who are making games, yes, they're going to be releasing everywhere. And even in the developer Slacks I'm in, where that gets brought up, people are like, we far too long have we been accepting big deals, in particular from Sony, which was sort of considered the gorilla that sort of forced you into particular things with, like, if you do this, then we won't give you this. You need to give us this. And if you're exclusive, we'll give you this and this. And now a lot of companies are like, no, it's just not worth it. Square, look at what Square stated, like they are 100% fully supporting every system. They're like, we are never going back to that. It just doesn't, we're far past that point. Like, that's over. It was over when the custom chips went away. It just took us another, gen and a half to get there. So
right.
What's up, BKJ? How you doing? Are you the BK who jumps into chat with me? I think you're BK, right? Are you BK who jumps into chat? But it's got -88, so maybe you're the 88th BK. Oregon Fresh says, seems Xbox and Steam getting pretty buddy. Yeah, trust me. It's not, may not be buddy, but dude, do you think Sony's not looking at that? Do you? Yeah, it's, dude, it's going to be so weird. And somebody brought it up yesterday. I was like, this is going to be exciting to see these changes. One of the guys brought up, he's like, do you think the arguments will continue to be, Sony, Xbox, Nintendo? I was, no, it's going to be game against game, just like it was when I was growing up, where it was like, this Mortal Kombat's better than this one.
That's how it should be.
It won't be about the platform. It'll be two games on the same platform. For example, your football games, that kind of stuff that used to happen. It won't as much for IP reasons, but you're going to have it all of the people who are cult style in their desire. It can be anything. It can be an Xbox cult, Steam Deck cult. We've seen them everywhere. They're weird. Those guys' weirdness will not go away. That weirdness is like a mental thing with that person where they need that outlet. They need to be connected to something. They're going to do it with games. It'll just go to games.
They already do. I mean, we see it with certain games.
Have you seen discussions about mice sometimes? I was Bad Seed Tech would review like mice, and you'd fucking straight up have like Logitech cult
the fans,
bro.
Yeah.
It's like Imagine dying on that hill. Imagine you come home from a hard day at work, you're doing your shit, your wife comes in, she's like, your penis is too small, and you're just like, this is a terrible day. And then you got some jackass who posts because you liked Razer on some forum, and they're like, well, let me tell you about Logitech's ergonomic, and fuck you. Like, dude, it's so weird. It is so weird, some of these groups. I've seen groups.
Yeah.
No lie, I have a friend who does stickers. And that's what I mean, stickers. You buy a sticker of a Care Bear, you put it on something. People collect stickers. There are entire forums and cults that are for one sticker maker versus another.
Wow.
That's some deep web shit. Those people have to be posted on deep web because there's no way you can be that weird and not also have some other stuff going on. I'm just joking, by the way. Anybody who loves stickers,
if you think the console wars ending would mean that this whole thing ends, it's delusional, right? I mean, we see it with like Expedition 33. We said maybe 2 bad things about it. We really liked the game overall,
dude,
and we still got a lot of pushback from like people who felt really.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, listen.
I guess it comes from a good place. They connected with the game. They liked the game, but it gets to a point where you can't.
I think even
about
far past that will be. We're always going to get that because I'll say I like the color black. Somebody will be like, black isn't a color. Be like, I like the color dark gray. And somebody be like, well, that's barely a color. And you're just like, all right, dude, I see where you're going with this. We know. That kind of stuff's always going to happen. What I'm saying, though, is that you won't get the expedition. You will still get that to us because we're a focus. It's a screen. You're seeing us. There's no way to not argue with that. What I'm talking about is more along the lines of Expedition 33 versus a new Dragon Quest. That kind of shit. Do you see what I'm saying? Like RPG versus RPG, because the world loves its lists, right? It loves its tier lists. This is S tier, blah blah blah. That kind of stuff. It just those turn into
cultish
kind of stuff.
Back in my day, you had Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I remember.
Versus Final Fantasy VIII.
I know.
And if you liked one, you couldn't like the other.
Not like the other. You could not like it.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah. It's an interesting time. It's really cool. Like I said, normally we just don't have that in our Discord. We rarely have it here. But I mean, even when I'm teasing people for stuff in Discord where I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Like this seems really weird. You got astroturfing reports now all over like Reddit for multiple different games. And Arc Raiders was mentioned where people are like, some of this shit looks really suspicious. And I'm like, true in a way, but also that's what a cult member believes, right? That's how conspiracy starts. That's how Joe Rogan, starts, is a little thing that blows up. And it can't just be that something bad happened. It had to have been that multiple things came together and decided with the serpent people that this thing should happen, and that's when it gets weird. Let's see. Killzone, the Halo killer. Remember that? I do. Has anything, hey, guys in chat, has anything been called the killer and been a killer of something? Has any game come along, even 10 years later, maybe, because it usually takes 1 or 2? Have there been any games that have been called the killer of something where the original is gone? And that, I think Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, there might have been times where maybe because Dragon Quest is ancient, right? Which came first, Dragon Quest 1 or Final Fantasy, the first one? Do you know? Maybe they came around the same time. But I've always wondered if
it's got to be Final Fantasy came first.
Yeah.
Because there are way more of those.
You think so? Okay. For some reason, Dragon Quest just is so, it's the atypical RPG kind of thing.
Dragon Quest, we're at 13.
No. I'm saying the year that it was made.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Like which one came first? Because I was wondering if one of those, because I think Final Fantasy did kill Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest is still a thing, but Final Fantasy, the name Final Fantasy means way more than, regardless of what.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like Final Fantasy is just like boom on pretty much whatever.
But it didn't kill it. No, you're right. I think it's this idea of the zero sum just isn't how it works, right? Because the original thing still
exists.
Is
mostly
out there. Yeah. Usually, it's just
Call of Duty killed Medal of Honor. I feel like the company did that, but But yeah, I feel like technically we just haven't seen that. I would say Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, it feels like that, because I do remember when I was really young, there were these discussions about which one was better, and but I don't even know when the killer came up as a term either. Was it pre-games? Because I don't remember it. That's way before my time. But
Yeah.
I wonder where that came about. Yeah, such a weird one, man. They're the blah 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 killer. It's like, no, they're not, man. Come on. I'd say EA did a bang up job of killing. Yeah, that's what I was saying. A bang up job of killing Medal of Honor themselves. Yeah, they did. They did. They have a ribbon made by AI that they wear on their chest for killing Medal of Honor. Yeah, man, so old. So old. Those games are, dude. Back when they were just fat pixels and they had to tell you what it was. Like this is a guy who was a 21-year-old, blah, 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 and you're looking at it going, that is like 3 pixels, man. I don't know if you're lying to me or if that's, dude, I still remember really back in the day when you would lose a character on the screen because everything looked the same.
That's why you had the arrows on top of
Not only
characters.
that's why sometimes, so when you could start moving around game screens, and there were a lot of the breakout style games, the actual breakout ball in the old games was the paddle as well, but the paddle was just those balls connected and they would not separate. So they were quite, then that became a power up where the ball would hit that and it would break apart. And people were like, oh, wow, that's destruction. I'm sure they didn't use those terms, but it was like, no, there's quite literally not destruction. That is just removing the thing that had locked it together. The ball is the thing. I think I told you back in the days that I think it was the ColecoVision had a gun, and the game didn't even have enough memory to stop you from shooting somebody's tennis ball when they were playing tennis. So I'd be behind my parents when they were playing, shooting the ball and ruining their games for them. Like, that's how bad they were back then. And I say bad, still felt amazing. Bob $2 super chat. I can't put down Arc Raiders. Help yourself, buddy. Go get that one tuna
Bob
can,
from
man.
Universe number 2.
Bob Universe. Bob, are you 2 or -2 though? Because if he's -2, he's an anti-Bob.
Negative universe.
Negative
where
universe.
Everything is reversed.
Oh my God. Hang on one second. Masturbating with which hand? Just joking.
Carrick cries on every podcast episode.
Oh wow. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like emotion, like who's emotional, who's not.
You're only registering the lows instead of highs.
That would be amazing. A1 Nango, $5 super chat says, wow, killed EverQuest. That, man, that's fair. I think, of course, there's always caveats. I think that's sort of fair. WoW definitely, even though we're both around, it's like, and I think EverQuest is the one that even they couldn't keep their second one running officially for a while and went back to the first one or something. And then there was Asheron's Call, which I liked more than both. Asheron's Call was sweet. Man, that was a good game. Anyway, good discussion. Yeah, I don't know about the killers, but I would say some of those definitely, they definitely paralyzed, and one of the games is eaten out of a feeding tube, but it may still be alive, right?
Like Batman. Like, sure, you didn't kill them.
Listen, your grandmother is still alive, but she's in a home connected to a feeding tube and can't talk, and she's still alive though. Let's see, what else do we got here? Metroid Prime impressions, man. So, a lot of complaints about the side character. Supposedly, there's some chummy, goofy ass comedic side character that a lot of people complained about in the previews. But what I saw, watched the trailers, read up on what people felt that game, sort of did. Metroid Prime, to me, feels like what Nintendo, who is 20 years behind in a lot of stuff, feels like shooter/platformers still feel like. Feels ancient. It looks ancient. But I think it really nails it when it comes to like fandom and nostalgia and something different, even though it's old. And I think from what I saw, it'll probably do really well. But I can now definitely understand, because of this game in particular, I can now understand a lot of times when I would talk to somebody about particular Nintendo exclusive games, and they were not, I was always of the opinion, look, they're the only ones doing exclusive games, really, really, truly exclusive, where you pretty much assume they won't go anywhere, right? And I've heard in the past discussions about it where people would say, right, that is true, but look at the games. There's a very particular like ancientness to all of them, and it's not just their graphics. Even if they push something forward, which they absolutely did with Zelda, you know, well, they didn't really. It was honestly, it was a fairly basic physics thing, and it could barely run on that system. But it was still, I thought it was awesome. I'll just say that. But now I sort of understand where they're coming from. When I saw this, the previews of this, and I was like, okay, I sort of do understand why. Whenever I bring up like exclusives, I think they're powerful for Nintendo. I think at some point they're going to have to look elsewhere, or they'll have a system that won't do well, and they'll have to look elsewhere just by sheer existence. But yeah, it looks like a game that is made by a company that sees things 20 years ago, which isn't bad because it's still going to hit for a lot of people, feeling different, feeling more basic. I don't have any complaints towards it. It's just a observation. What have you seen any of the video? Or read any impressions? Yeah.
It didn't really seem something that I would play or I would enjoy.
Okay.
But then again, I don't really have this nostalgia for some of these older shooters type thing.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just not really the target audience, like you're saying. They are targeting the maybe like older school,
mm-hmm.
Kind of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's the thing is like, it's an exclusive. It's one of many exclusives that sell really well in their systems most of the time, but they don't make new. It's not that they don't make new fans. It seems like it might be a little harder to make new fans of those though.
I think so.
If that makes sense. Like that's not a diss on them because I think I became a new fan when I played. I didn't like Breath of the Wild, but that was more mechanics that they had put in where I was just like, oh my God, this is grindy. I don't like the weapon degrading this quick, blah, blah, blah. But I did like Tears of the Kingdom a lot, and I'm not a Zelda fan. So they got a new fan for Zelda, but they don't have a new Nintendo fan. Does that make sense? Maybe that's more what I'm saying.
I think it does.
It's like, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's a weird situation with that game in particular.
I think also... I'm realizing I don't like Metroid games that much. So games that I've liked in the past that were Metroidvania, I think I like the Vania part
Absolutely
more.
Correct, because they added something, they merged the two into something new.
Yeah.
Which then removes some of the nostalgia based, we're going to base a lot of our gameplay in like more of this older school thing. We're going to add something.
Yeah, spot on.
Even if you add two
maybe
olds,
streamline
it does
some
make
stuff.
A new. Yeah. It does. It makes a new product at least. It doesn't like, change the world. But no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. I would say I'm the same. Even though I don't like Metroidvanias very much, or in a couple others, I was much more interested in those versus either one of those separate, if that makes sense, right? So if one of those was separate, I'd be like, but combined, sometimes you're like, hey, dude.
Sometimes they hit.
Yeah.
Other times, by the way, they don't. So I found I'm not the biggest fan of the genre. like we talked about Silk Song.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big fan. It's great. It's awesome. But it's...
Yeah, I definitely have seen that happen.
I
definitely
there's a lot of backtracking, a lot of... Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But again, a lot of it are old style, completely not used, because most people feel beyond those, or they want to be beyond. I think it works really well because they're like, when it does happen, you're like, is it new? No, but that's why it feels different and worth experiencing, because it isn't new, but all the new stuff can feel generalized. And at some point, we'll get to the point to where like what feels generalized now is rarer, and we'll probably a company will mix two, and you'll be like, oh wow, this is pretty good. It depends on how long you're running around inside of something. Maharahe 101 says a lot of it's nostalgia for me. I hope that the game nails that atmosphere the old games had. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Not even going to try to pronounce that, Mr. Phenopope. The Phony Pope. If having quirky companions chiming in all the time was their way to expand and modernize the game, it kind of reaffirms how far back in time Nintendo was in the design of this one. Oh, true, because this one has been in design hell, right? For years and years. Okay, fair point.
Yeah,
fair point.
That's always tough, right? Those long development cycles.
Yeah. You know, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
That is
funny
true
how Dispatch did a pretty good job despite having a long
development time.
I think they had an almost 7-year
No
run.
way. No way, did they?
I think I saw a video about that. I'll have to double check the data on it because I could have been lied to. They were showing some early like concept art like about 7 years ago. But who knows? It could have just been at that stage art. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we got some drawings, we got some ideas of the characters. Who knows?
Yeah. And maybe the distance helps, you know. It's like when you play an ancient feeling game like a Metroid or whatever, the distance can help, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's like, especially like the more these things come up, the more you'll get like I wouldn't defend the Telltale games. I think they were feeling old day one, but their story was their linchpin. Stories as old as time. So it would be weird for me to try to defend them because I'm like, no, they're quite literally like their cornerstone is that, you know. And it's like Nintendo and especially Prime or whatever, their cornerstone is feeling ancient. It's okay. They don't look ancient, but they feel ancient even in their movement. If you've ever played, like even the old ones, they didn't even advance that. It's like it's sort of like I'm a man in a box, and that's fine. That's the way it feels. Where I think Zelda took some initiatives from current newer games, like I think Tears of the Kingdom is pretty insane when you walk out that first time and you see those floating, you know, everything's floating, all the movement, the verticality. You're like, okay, the verticality in particular isn't necessarily new, but being used as a gameplay, such an extreme gameplay device, I think verticality sticks more in a Castlevania and Metroidvania with
worlds.
Moving up and down. Yeah. It was one of the first ones that really felt like that the verticality was so massive that everything was this 3D thing. Yet at the same time, there was a lot of old school caveats that existed in that game too. Like for example, they don't need to do whatever they're doing. It's obvious this weirdo character, you know, is bothering people. Like I get that. Like everybody seems to have been like, this is just, it feels out of place, whatever. But I would say it might be them trying to fix some of the complaints that have happened in the past. Tears of the Kingdom, all the Zelda games, the NPCs haven't felt great. And many aren't voiced. Many don't, they feel like a piece of paper placeholder. They're like, you need to collect me 40 of these. And you're like, okay, I get it, you know. And then the gameplay exists outside of talking to that person. Which also raises the question, what if a new Zelda came out and it had fully talking characters with cutscenes and everything, a la Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was known for having really funny, really great, some really poignant, some really humorous, not scary, but violent cutscenes, you know, and was more of a produced piece. And you can replace AC with anything, any game that is like that. Do you think would you like Zelda more or less? So let's say they brought up that part of their development to like even 10 years ago, because they're way beyond 10 years old. They're well older than that now. But if you brought them up to about 5 to 10 years ago in that part, would you find yourself more appealing or more like, would that be more appealing for you? Would it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And nothing would be missed in the process. It's not, there's no, in my opinion, there isn't like a secret sauce attached to this lack of personality of NPCs and lack of voice acting.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah. You saw something?
I did. Kid goes, I would say finally, which that is, I guess I hadn't even thought that far, but that is true. Like I could see a lot of people saying, yeah, like that's
a lot of JRPGs still operate under a different standard,
right?
Which is, it's okay to not have full voice acting, right? That's the bar. That's your competition. So I would love for that to become the same bar we have in Western development,
Yeah.
which is, hey, we want voice acting, we want good quality, character. I mean, listen, we get good quality characters in a lot of JRPGs. I don't want to say it that way, but
Right.
that the expectation is there is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Such that when it doesn't happen, people complain about it.
Yeah.
Because now people kind of, brush it under the rug kind of thing. You don't see it mentioned a great deal, whether they don't have voices or don't have a lot of personality. A lot of times that's a bit secondary. And I would like to see that brought up to a
higher level,
a high importance, like people caring, about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, hopefully we see some improvements there from all around. I think we will as development gets a little bit easier. You don't spend maybe so much time locked into the technicals of some game engine or whatever. Maybe you can go out and create. For example, I'm going to tell you straight up, I feel that I greatly enjoyed Dispatch a great deal more because it was not stuttery like the prior Telltale games were. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying,
dude.
I'm saying that the Telltale games, I love Wolf Among Us. Love it. I liked Expanse. I liked it. I've liked a lot, but the actual bugginess does impact the story beat. If a person's trying to say, I'm going to tell you the main bad guy's name, and then it cuts out like Kig did in a
Yep.
voice discussion, and you don't know what they said, or they're like, "Nyah, nyah," it will impact the ability for you to
Absolutely.
like engage in that story.
Or like the
and
quick time
that helped
events.
a great deal.
Are stuttering,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
just, it
Yeah.
breaks their immersion.
Henry, $5 super chat. Hey guys, been listening for the last 4 years. I adore this podcast. Never catch it live. Just a small thank you for the hours of enjoyment. Hey, thank you very much. Never catch it
Thank
live.
you, Henry.
I think you need to talk to your bosses and be like, dude, it's time. I need Fridays off. I need Fridays off from 10:30 to either 1 or 4, depending on how long these jackasses talk. Either
Or
1 to 4.
you can move to Europe where it's evening time.
Where it's evening time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Problem solved. I got you.
Easy problem. Hard problem,
Yeah,
but easy
you just
solved,
move
right?
completely
Super easy
out of
solved.
your continent.
Just move.
I got you.
Super nothing. Just go ahead and move. I want to talk real quick. I'm just going to add these. We got some indicators of Xbox ads and removals from Game Pass. I thought I'd read these. Recently added as of November, Relic Hunters Legend, Winterboro, Great God Cove, Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, Pigeon Simulator, Void Train, Egging On, Whisker Wood, Dead Static Drive, and Sniper Elite Resistance. Those have been added. I believe Sniper Elite Resistance was already on once. Could be wrong, but there you go. Upcoming Game Pass releases. We got today, Call of Duty, 19th, Moonlighter 2, November 20th, Monsters Are Coming, Rock and Road. Is that a Telltale where you're in a band? Is that a Telltale style game? I feel like that might be.
I haven't heard
I
of
could be
it.
wrong. December 4th, Routine. December 9th, Dome Keeper. Games leaving soon from Game Pass. Football Manager 2024 and Super Manager 2024. Blacksmith Master, Frostpunk, Spirit Tea, and Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. That's been on there for a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stalker 2. Okay.
Yeah, that's been on there for a while.
Interesting.
Enjoyable game. Still, even that's a game where its tech issues barely surpassed its enjoyment, but because it's got, I think Stalker has 3 things going for it that, like, for me. 1, European block post-apocalyptic feels different than Western, right? So it does. Just like a
Yep.
Japanese post-apocalyptic would feel different. We don't get those, but we do get occasional Eastern bloc. That works. Crunchy and pretty difficult. That also helps. And then so this sort of fits with the Eastern bloc, but I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say the Eastern bloc, first bit I was talking about is your story and your characters and the feeling and the crunchiness. But then there's also, I don't feel a lot of surprise when I play like Division in a post-apocalyptic because I know the locations and everything. And I know where Chernobyl is overall and that kind of stuff. But there's a sense of mystery that's going to exist in an Eastern bloc game that doesn't exist. The same thing happened in the other game. Not Atomfall. Atomic Heart. Where
Oh, yeah.
there's a sense of mystery that sits always there. When I go over a hill, I'm like, in a Western style game, just because we know the continent and the way it is and where buildings are, even Fallout looks a certain way because of our freeway system is built a certain way. So you see things and you're like, that's the East. With the East stuff, it's just like I have no clue. You know,
Stuff
you
is
can say
built
Eastern Bloc.
differently.
I'll just say with
like
areas, Russia, Ukraine, that kind of stuff. Things are built differently.
Yeah.
There's a utilitarian feel to things that only really in America exist in centers of cities that have grown up, and you can see them there, but you see modernization when you go outside of those cities or you go to the edges. So yeah, it's pretty cool. By the way, that new SpongeBob game is fun if the demo's anything to go by. I really want to play the new SpongeBob game. Matter of fact, thank you very much. Let me I gotta send an email reminder to myself for that. SpongeBob. I think I've covered all of the new ones. I really enjoy those. I thought they were fun. Did you grow up on SpongeBob?
Is it? No, didn't really.
Real quick,
I don't.
Let me let this guy out. What games? What cartoons did you grow up on? I'm still listening. I'm gonna take this guy.
Okay.
Like, what were some of the big ones?
Well,
so for me, it was like Transformers, G.I. Joe. Was it stuff like that?
Oh, okay, yeah. Definitely Transformers, like Beast Wars, and all of those kind of older ones. And then there was a lot of Dragon Ball Z. That was a big thing for me growing up. I even had like some collectible cards and stuff. I used to know all the power levels of different characters at different stages in the saga. It was crazy. Yeah, I would say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well. Someone said that in chat. Also watched a lot of that. There was a weird one. I think it was Mice from Mars or something. Was these like mice dudes that rode bikes. I don't know, it was fantastic. There was something incredible about that. And then a lot of the typical stuff like He-Man, the one, the Thundercats one. Yeah, I think those are pretty much the ones I grew up with. You guys in chat are saying some here as well. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yeah, and some Cartoon Network ones like the Chicken and the Cow and Dexter's Laboratory. That type of stuff was also my jam. And Johnny Bravo, of course.
Mumra, the ever-living. You said Thundercats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was
Bikers,
awesome.
Mice from Mars. Yeah, there you go.
Biker Mice from Mars.
Yeah. Did you ever see that or no?
Yeah, but not live or anything. I just saw it randomly pop up.
Yeah.
I would say also, let's see, what else when I was growing up. So Transformers, you mentioned Beast Wars. I think. So Beast Wars would be generation like 4 for me. Like,
oh, okay. Yeah.
That would have been 4 generations after I watched it. So.
Oh, dude. Yeah, man.
Beavis and Butthead, Angry Beavers, Ren and Stimpy, Eon Flux. Oh yeah, from MTV Liquid. What was that? What was that called? It was their late night thing when that first came up. MTV's Liquid Metal TV. So there's some term for it, but I remember seeing Eon Flux on that. That was a crazy ass cartoon. SWAT Cats? No, never heard of SWAT Cats. But I like the idea of a bunch of cats in SWAT uniforms taking down like rodent criminals. Dude, that'd be pretty good. You'll never get me, Kappa. And he's got his little tail.
And then they get lazy in the middle of it.
Yeah, and then
just
the
like take a nap.
Yeah. Or the rats realizing they need to slow down the cats. They put catnip up in the road between like their place and the police precinct. So the cats are driving.
Or they shoot lasers to distract them. They're like, get them to chase the laser. Yeah. Oh shit!
Run off! Yeah, everybody's got like different weapons. Like the rats will have like a tail laser that they fire on the wall, which will distract them. Somehow I came out of this thinking that the rats would win. I like the rats better. I don't know why, but
they would for sure, dude.
I think they would. I think cats are more.
Yeah, it's like Tom and Jerry.
Yeah,
where Jerry the rat always outplayed Tom.
Yeah. Let's see. Starfleet, anime puppet space opera show. Liquid Television, it was. Okay. Chopsaki Chooks. Never heard of that one. I grew up on, speaking of that, I grew up on Hong Kong Phooey. Man, that was good. Little racist, but really good when I was growing up, man. Yeah, like when we had Brian Edward Hill, who wrote the comic for the new one, I was like, dude, when we talk about this, should we mention? He's like, of course we can mention. He's like, it's fine. It's like, that is just a sign of the times. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it as a writer that it was weird back in the day. He's like, as a black man, I'm not going to add stuff to it. I'm going to try to be, but I was like, even the song, man, for Hong Kong Phooey was questionable. Like the theme song. I remember singing it one day when I was a kid going, wait, what?
Hold on a second.
Hold on a second. This is completely unacceptable. Chowder and the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Okay, that sounds weird as hell. I've never heard of that. Heathcliff. Oh, yeah. Yep. Peak MTV for Liquid TV. Yeah, that was back when MTV had good shit. Does MTV exist anymore? Dude, I can't even find it on my channel
they're producing
listings.
like shows.
That's what I see.
I was watching.
Yeah,
I was watching King of Tulsa or Tulsa King.
Tulsa King. And
it's produced by MTV. Weirdly enough.
Okay, I didn't actually really.
So
pick
somebody, inherited that and did something completely different.
I'm gonna make sure I get the super chats here. Okay, got all. When I was growing up too, the cartoons weren't on all the time because they were specific times. So you would have like your 3 o'clock, so we would have Scrooge McDuck, Donald Duck Presents, Donald Duck Presents, na 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 na. And you come home just like grabbing your snack, sit down, and then you'd have your early morning small snippet, but it was usually talk shows with kids. Like Ramblin' Rod was a huge one here on the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if that was big anywhere in America other than here. Probably was. But I remember that one being big. And then you had the puppet ones, your Fraggle Rock, stuff like that,
Right.
But then now it's like cartoons all the time. Dude, a couple days ago, I was looking at Netflix, which Netflix stuns me how much stuff they're putting out. Some really good, by the way. But like documentaries on sports on Netflix are fantastic. They did two called Quarterbacks and Receivers for the NFL, and I'm not even a huge NFL fan, and I watched every minute of that. Like, I was like, what the hell? They also have a ton of cartoons, and I always forget, and then randomly we'll be scrolling down and be like, what the shit? What is all this? It was just the most, it's not as well thought out as older cartoons where there was a focus. It almost seems like it's more like what you said about Cats and Rats, where it's almost like a bunch of people come up with an idea. Exactly right. Yeah. They're like, well, okay, a peregrine falcon and a sentient enchilada meet up with a dune buggy, and they're like, we can get a season out of that. We can figure that out. We can do that.
Let's go ham on that.
Tailspin was awesome. Yeah, 1990s X-Men cartoons. DuckTales for me was insane. There was also Spider-Man, Sunfire, I think, and Iceman, which was, I can't even remember. I think it was called Spider-Man and Friends or something. That was the first time I saw
a bunch
Iceman.
of Batman ones.
Bunch of Batman.
I watched,
dude, there's so many Batman ones.
And they had some great ones.
Netflix is one of the places where I just saw like 3 I'd never seen before Batman cartoons. I was like, what the fuck? There's like there's one called like
nice
Bat Fam, which I sent to Reg yesterday, going, this is like old AI, trying to make a fat Batman. It's called Bat Fam, and it's like, I think it's about him and the various Robins or something. Like, I saw the preview of it, and I was like, okay, I think I might check this out. But yeah, it's called Bat Fam, which is, who knows? I'm pretty sure MTV recently shut down. I think you mean the channel, right? I think you mean the channel.
The actual channel?
Yeah, because I think the channel might have shut down, but I feel like I see their name on so many movies. Yeah. The Spider-Man animated series intro is an all-timer. I'll have to check it out. I don't remember that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's like Sauron, where like his body has died, but
yeah, he's still around
in
spirit.
Spirit is still behind stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. And these are ones I'd love to see become games.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see, like some of these become games versus all of the shit that we continually see. It would be sort of nice to see those. What else do we got? You wrote some stuff in as well we've covered a couple of them, but do we have any like really cool topics? There? Go for it.
Let me see. Let me pick out some of the best, shit I had. Well, first of all, I wanted to mention that Anno 117 came out and had some insanely good reviews.
I saw that. Yeah.
So we were curious how this was going to do, since it's like older Roman times and stuff.
Yep.
Um,
Did insanely well.
93% critics
Damn,
recommend.
really?
Open critic, 84 top critic average. Yeah, it's doing really well. IGN gave it a 9. I'm seeing here some kind of other random places giving 9 or 8.
I liked it a lot in my preview. Good. There was a couple little things that I would like to have seen, or I don't know if they've been fixed that I have thought would be nice to see them fix. But overall, I enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's cool. That's high.
Wait, did you make a preview on this one?
Yeah.
Oh, because it didn't pop for me at all.
I think I did it on the side pod. I think I showed video on that one. I did it on a side pod.
I'll check. Yeah, I'll check that one. Cool.
Damn, that's awesome.
The other thing is they did a state of play. Sony did.
Oh, the Japan one?
And there
like Japan, state of play
Japan one.
Yeah.
They had some weird stuff where they showed a gaming monitor. Did you see that? It had like a built-in charging.
Yeah, leave it up to Sony to try to sell you
dock
a fucking
or,
dock.
Yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is. Microsoft.
Why would you want it?
I don't know, because every time something's connected to my monitor in that way, speakers, charging docks, charging devices, the monitor is never close enough to me for me to easily grab anything, because that would be weird. At 27 inches, that would work. But those guys, because this is what I used to do, was no lie, when I was selling TVs and working on the technology behind them, they were thinking of putting a cup holder on the side of a TV one time. And we were like, do you understand the length of things at all? Like, how is that ever gonna work unless it's like a 19
reach out.
Dude, it's ridiculous. She got a 65-inch TV with a fucking, you're gonna have to get up. And then this one at least is smaller. It's still pretty big, but yeah, it's just Sony doing Sony. I mean, it's not that surprising, but it is
shenanigans.
Funny. Yeah, it is funny.
I think the main thing from that was they showed the Night Rain DLC. It's called Forsaken Hollows.
Mm-hmm.
So 4th of December, that's coming out. That's really cool.
Yeah, excited for that. For people, not me.
Yeah, other people.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Octopath Traveler 0. That looked interesting. That's coming out on the 4th of December.
Very fast. Am I right that had been shown at some other time, though, as well? But the date wasn't known? Is that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be a big game. I mean, I feel.
So I think that's pretty much it, actually. They showed a bunch of stuff, but weirdly enough, there isn't anything that I would really mention. There was a Dragon Quest 7 reimagined thing they showed that looked quite good. Again, Dragon Quest are not games that I would particularly play right now. They haven't really changed over time, which is good for people who love that exact formula. But I'm more of a Final Fantasy fan, where they've kind of iterated on different styles.
I still feel that direct was an indicator that Sony had figured out how to turn an email into a video with AI.
Dude,
that's what it felt like. It felt like an email you would send people about an update on some games, and they used AI to turn it into a video.
Make me a 30-minute presentation
They were nice enough to say it was a Japan, direct. So all jokes aside, they were clear on that. But yeah. What else we got?
So the other thing I saw here was that Krafton, the company behind Subnautica 2, was offering voluntary resignation for employees. And this is coming after that push for AI they were doing, where they were making some huge investments into AI hardware and stuff like that. So it says here, quote, the company plans to support members in autonomously deciding whether to continue the direction of change. So they announced a record-breaking third quarter where they made a bunch of profit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is interesting. I want to hear your take on this, because they are openly investing into AI in a big way. And they are saying this is a program to support employees, in the sense that if they are not okay with that path, with that direction, that they can just, get a resignation. I imagine it's like beneficial
But yeah, maybe
compared compared to just leaving.
right.
So what do you make of this? Is this like an actual good faith thing they're doing, or
Well, nothing's in good faith, technically from a business. I mean, technically from a person, when you think about it, regardless of what we try to pretend, everybody's selfish in some way. So the idea of doing it, I think, is sort of, if they've chosen to go all in on AI, they still need some people to control the AI and decide on things and blah, blah, blah. So the idea that you're saying, hey, if you want voluntary resignation, there's no layoff right now, but if you want voluntary resignation and you're worried about layoffs, like the stress of a layoff, and we're going to give you some money, then what I would do if it were me is I would start looking around. If I didn't agree with whatever step the company was taking, I would look around, find one, and then take their money and go, right? That's up to you. That's what you should do. There's nothing behind the scenes about that. You should do that. It's pretty forward thinking for a company to do it. I don't, whether I agree at all, because I don't see, I talked about this in a side podcast. There ain't no fucking way a AI is making a game right now. People can't make games right now. It takes 5, 6, 7 years and things aren't perfect and you still have issues. It's going to take a long time. You want people to be there to use it as a tool, not use it to, like, that doesn't make any sense. But they opening this up early because they have plans in the future, that is forward thinking, regardless if I agree with whatever they're doing. It is still forward thinking. It's weird, but I was never, I've been pretty clear about how I feel about them. So I just do not agree with almost anything they've ever done. That's just me. So I don't.
No, I mean,
completely
I
separate
think they've
from this.
been. They've been really shitty overall, right? Based on everything we've read, we don't know the full story, but that's been the impression.
What I would do though is I would find the end day of the resignation, right? Like when's the last day, and I would look around for jobs where. Or maybe get with my friends and say, if I get this much and you get this much, do we want to make a game? Do we want to use this money to nest egg our own game and, do that? I don't know how much they're getting paid either, because, I mean, like, you have no clue. The difference between a QA tester and a lead is going to be huge. And I have a feeling the offering is not going to every single person, because that would be ridiculous, right? Now, I will say they're probably ahead of the game in automation of AI, meaning programming and scripting and stuff to iterate more quickly than a person sitting at a desk slowly. You have agents doing the iterations, multiple with one person in charge. But I would never get rid of my leads. It doesn't really matter in the future. 1,000 years from now, I wouldn't get rid of my leads. I mean, your leads might be computers by that point, but you know what I mean? Like, the idea of that is because they're the creative, they're the person that has the juice that shapes the way everything is made. And I don't see it being offered to everybody. That would be really weird, because if you had a star football team and let's say you had too many people on it, but you wanted to say, we want it to be at least a little less friction, so we're going to, if anybody wants to voluntarily before being cut from this team, I probably wouldn't offer it to my star quarterback. That would be weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Can you imagine? Because what if everybody else said no and your star quarterback's gone and you're like, well, that turned out
What if all your best people take you up on that and they're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll take that.
And here's the thing about them and where they're based, far, far, far more acceptance of AI than we are. Way more. From a government level, everywhere. So I can see a lot of people not taking it, and I can see some and just sticking there to see what goes on too. And like, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Well, I don't think it'll be the last, but I don't think it's a good first. It doesn't even make sense. It's what I know of AI, and this is what I'm doing. This is what I've been doing for 4 fucking years, and I can tell you, I don't know of anybody who's thinking AI is just going to make anything. Not what we're talking about. Like a GTA. I saw somebody ask that a couple days ago. When's a ChatGPT going to make a GTA? And I'm like, a GTA made by a person is different. If you made a GTA, it would be different than if I did. But AI isn't there yet, and it will be there. Like, it definitely will be there at some point, but it'll feel like its thing. So they're ahead of the game in a weird way. They're making a weird decision. Like, I don't know. Maybe they see something I don't see. You know, maybe there's maybe they're using tools that haven't been released yet that are just, you know, we've connected Unreal with this and this.
I think at certain things, it can already do a really good job. If you were to give it something really specific, like tell it to smooth out an animation in an engine.
Yeah, you can
definitely maybe you can have some really good tools for that. If you can give it like something specific where you're saying this needs to be
you can do that
X,
right now. Yeah.
You know, you can do that type of stuff with good tooling. I think it's kind of going down that direction, but like you said, we're not at the stage where it can have this director mind and have a clear vision and then coordinate all of these different streams that are iterating and then coming back with this data. It's just, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Even with all the agentic stuff we have going on, it's not possible.
Yeah, it's weird.
These projects are hundreds of people, guys. It's like, or thousands, actually.
And
right?
Let's talk about, so something that you and I've talked about. I don't know if we've ever talked about this in a game, but something I dealt with in my last jobs. The business within the area also influences all of that area's finances. So if you build a building, you got a bunch of people there, they're eating food at the local restaurant, right? Maybe there's a hospital nearby that's getting more people because you have a bunch of buildings next to it with a bunch of employees. If all those people go, you're also impacting, you know, that area. Where are they going to go? And where are they going to be spending their cash? If it's not, you know, digital cash, but where are they going to be spending their cash right there for a product right there without ordering it from Amazon? There's a lot of other things. They're ahead of the game in a game that I don't see anybody else playing right now. At least so far. I really haven't seen what they're talking about, you know, or what they seem to think is happening. It could be just way early. But that's weird. Yeah. I just don't think it'd be added to everybody. Right? Like if I had 5 people on my team and I got an editing AI, which those exist, I've seen people using them. If you got that to a level to where you trusted it, then you might offer that to the editor. You might say, you're not going to get as much work because I can do 6 times as much stuff or whatever, you know, at this point. But would you do that with your sound guy? No. So why do a carte blanche, like all you can eat buffet of layoffs? Weird. Yeah. I don't know. I by the way, I've not checked the fact checking on that story, which I've been doing a ton of. I saw it as well, but I wasn't interested enough to investigate it because I don't like them. But I don't know the fact of that story either. Meaning, who did they give it to? Is it all true? Because I talked about in a side podcast, the things that happened this week were insane. Like that Fallout rumor that was quite literally not a rumor. And as of, I think this morning, 56 websites have used it as a source. And there isn't a source. It all went back to one person saying the same rumor we've heard for years because they were talking to somebody who said something. There is no new information at all about it because, and here's why you would know. They'd have a new fucking article about that because that article would hit 10 times harder than this one. Instead, it was a single one line, and they were sourcing that as a brand new thing. So I want to source this and go. That's what I've been doing
especially
lately with
now.
all of the rumors that I'm hearing is like investigating. I mean, I've hired people to investigate stuff now and be like, I need you to go check every single source on this to verify that's real before we even talk about it, because you're affecting people's lives.
Because a lot
now,
of times
sometimes.
I'm looking for stuff in Perplexity or, ChatGPT as well, or like aggregating things. And sometimes you will find a story that kind of like doesn't pass the sniff test.
Yeah.
And then I always dig in and see, okay, where's this coming from? This one, I didn't see a lot of data, and the devil's in the details, really, right?
Yeah.
Like, who are they giving it to?
Because what if they
How's
just
really
gave
working?
it to their QA people who they have announced they have a suite of QA tools? That changes. It doesn't mean it's good, but it changes entirely the discussion around a company supposedly doing a buffet, So, yeah. What else we got?
Another thing that popped up is that Sony announced Horizon Steel Frontiers, which is an MMO.
Was it
version.
Sony or was that NetEase? You sure that
it's
was Sony?
NetEase, but
Okay, making sure.
no,
Continue.
you're right.
Okay, continue.
No, yeah, you're right.
But it's based on it is based on the real Horizon game.
Yes,
it is not the
so
rip-off
based
game.
on, yeah, exactly. So all the stuff from the Horizon, like the same animals we saw there, but it's an MMO, so you see multiple people there. It looks great, actually running really good FPS in the video. Was really happy with what I saw there, and I think the idea is awesome. I would love, if it is what they're showing, where it's the open world with the environments and everything, I think it would be incredible. But it almost seems a little bit too good to be true. I don't know. I only saw that.
It's mobile and PC,
10-minute
isn't it?
video. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. The fact that it's mobile, does that mean it will be kind of...
Well, my joke was it's a PlayStation title and it's not coming to the PlayStation. Can we at least...
Okay.
Can we find some humor in the idea that their IP, one of their major, that sold 40 million copies, that was in the article announcing this, that it had sold 40 million fucking copies, and most of those, let's be honest, are on their console. It's apparently not coming to the PlayStation, at least right away.
Okay, so, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I hadn't caught that at all.
Yeah.
So now that you mention it,
so
yeah,
weird.
Sony is nowhere in this, right? And it's not coming on PlayStation. So
at least from what I saw, there was no announcement. It was the announcement I saw, the little blurb I got was PC and PC and mobile.
It says PC and mobile.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, because for mobile, they have to pare it down. There's no way it can look like this.
But I mean, here's the thing. It is what it is. I like the idea of a Horizon. It is a company that a lot of people have problems with. Because I said NetEase, but I think it's actually NCSoft. Because there's like 3 of these companies, and NetEase was the one that got in trouble for copying them. So when I said NetEase, I was like, that doesn't seem right, because why would they allow them to then make a different game? I could be wrong on that, but I don't think it is NetEase, because NetEase wasn't NetEase the one.
It's NC.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So it's NCSoft, and I admit I don't know their history, but their history is one thing, the future is another. And the fact that a future game based on the major Sony IP is not on the PlayStation is weird as hell. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going, like how that is, but
it's crazy.
Yeah. By the way, will I play it? Dude, listen, in the last month or two, I've probably had the best time of my life on YouTube. And I don't know why. I still haven't, I'm not really investigating too much, but a really free, just like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this video, blah, blah, blah. Might be because I finally realized I can't win the war against clickbait. I don't know if that's what it is, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try these. Maybe I'll do a video on them. Maybe we'll do the podcast, what have you. At the same time, it's allowed me to look at a game like that mobile, not for me, right? But PC, and go, you know what, man? Instead of saying yes to the 55 regurgitations of Dark Souls games, instead of wanting to walk off into a lake and breathe in deeply when another jackass sends me Dark Souls-like in a PR statement, maybe I'll check something like that out. And because I've never really cared if people get mad. I know most fans will go, that's Carrick doing his thing. He wants to cover this game. Rue Valley I covered, and I don't think almost anybody did. But this game would not have been on my list a month ago. But now that I saw that today, and then we've talked about this, I weirdly enough am like, you know what? That might be really hilarious, to sort of go in and cover it. It's also because I think I'm noticing that reviews really don't pay the bills anymore at all. I would say they're definitely not. But the top lists, they pay the bills. The news, they pay the bills. And it allows for me to go, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll do this and that. I'll still do just as many reviews, but it's like instead of stressing over it, I think that stress is sort of gone. Being like, okay,
what's cool too is that you
changed.
Open yourself for some outliers that might perform overwhelmingly well out of nowhere. You know,
For
you always
shit.
talk about a couple you've had.
Yeah, Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball
Yeah.
and stuff.
That game got me the most subscribers of all time, and boy, did I not.
Yeah.
That was so weird because I was like, I'm just going to try this one. I tried Rue Valley. It didn't do great. Whatever. I don't care. It's just like, that's the thing. But yeah, the outliers are the magic, dude. It's why I don't get tired of reviewing, because I'm not I've never really stuck, but even now I'm even less stuck. But in the past, I'm like, if I review the same shit, I'm going to sound like everybody else I hear, which is like, yeah, but 16 years ago, this game did it better. And it's like, it's not fucking 16 years ago. It's today, you know? So finding these side games, yeah, that's enjoyable. This game could be fun as hell, man. It's probably going to have shit I hate because it's probably free to play. You know, it probably has that feel to it, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? It's why I covered
because it's mobile.
Because
the mobile is what's throwing me off on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, who knows? It could be. I mean, hey, listen. There's one game that got me into mobile gaming. I fucking hated the idea of mobile gaming. And by the way, I'm not saying it magically fixed motion controls, but Kirasoft game dev story, the story games from Kirasoft blew my mind. I remember just going like, oh my God, I get it. I get this at least, and I get these things. And by doing that, I think it's useful for myself. It's useful for everybody to branch out. I'm excited because this game may do it. You know, I may go like, oh, hey, this is the game that, like, holy shit, you know, sometimes that company can nail it. I don't feel like that'll happen, but it is a big
because I'm thinking
from, you know,
I mean, dude, if mobile players are going to be like cross-playing with PC players, the game has to be similar enough that you're basically playing a mobile game on PC.
Yep.
Like Genshin Impact, which, by the way, still looks great, actually.
Genshin Impact,
you know, you played that thing on PC. That stands up to a lot of current games at its time.
Got some good
right?
animation, some good. It looks like a JRPG in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
got some sort of anime style. Looks good.
You're right. It will depend on are these like micros super predatory, like super annoying, or you know, does it have a good flow? I think that's gonna be. And then if it looks good, like Genshin and some other games, it could still be a hit. It's just maybe we have to break this mental block with mobile games now that they are becoming better over time, that they could be great. But I think still to this day, I've always had issues. Whether it's the micros or the gacha stuff, you know, for me, there's always been stuff that from the mobile land, you know,
pushed you away.
Came over to the PC, and then I didn't like it as much.
Yeah. Vapor says YouTube algorithm's weird nowadays. I searched for Outer Worlds 2 reviews, couldn't see Carrick's, had to go to his channel. Yeah, dude. YouTube algorithm is a little different now because they got rid of trending as well, and they separated trending because trending was good. Occasionally, if you'd hit trending, the main trending, I'd see a video explode because it was on main trending. Now they separated that, so you can't even get that to happen. So now you're dealing with the competition that's like a streamer that does one video like a Radbrad, and you're trying to, and by the way, there's no issue with Radbrad. I'm saying now that competition is just with those people, and it's completely changed. And then the algorithm itself has definitely changed. I was talking to somebody who missed a single, not podcast, but a single, I think it was a news video. And by not clicking that news video, he had to click like 3 past videos of mine to alert the algorithm that the one negative was not, the one not wanting to watch it wasn't what that person wanted in the algorithm. But it makes sense. There's so many creators now that if you don't want to watch something, YouTube's like, no worries, we have 1,000 people to replace you.
Yep.
So yeah, but and that's sort of the way I feel about this game. In fact, is that there's 1,000 of them, right? Of these mobile PC titles. And there are the occasional good ones that they just deliver a lot of stuff. So, yeah, I'm excited to see it. Genshin is a good example of a game that I don't like, that we fooled ourselves into believing that that's not the same shit in a different, you know, it's just makeup on a 5 to look like an 8. But at the same time, there are some good ones. Yeah, there's some good makeup. Yeah, man. You ever seen those? No, somebody's going to take that the wrong way And it's like, no, you don't understand. For some people,
We've all
makeup makes
seen
a
the
person look better.
Instagram posts
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we know. Yeah, we know what a glow up looks like. What else we got?
another thing I saw is that Ubisoft suspended trading. It was kind of sudden, right? And I mean, it's a very odd move that you wouldn't do because it does probably tank your stock to some extent. This is me and my limited understanding of this stuff. But do you think that indicates that they are preparing for like some big move or some type of, big change, big shift?
They froze it so it couldn't tank the stock. So let's clear that up. They froze it so it can't tank the stock because there is discussion and opinion around Ubisoft currently. It depends on the timing. So let me give you an example. If you cancel your financial discussion and then you cancel trading, that means something completely different than if you cancel trading and then cancel the future discussion. One could mean that you're worried about what you talk about will affect the stock. The other is that as you lead up, there might be rumors coming out and you shut the stock trading off so that the rumors don't affect things. There's a term for it in the stock market, and but basically the discussion around it, whatever, affects it, even if it's a positive. We don't know. But there were rumors, they're being bought by somebody, right? There's this, there's that. No one will know till it happens, so it's all second guessing. It could be as big as a purchase, right? It could be that they've decided that the side... So think about it this way. This side project is still leaving the major guys in charge of the side project with Assassin's Creed and all that. It could be that they just said, you know what? The side project is now the main project. And the other one, we're selling all of our stuff. It could also mean that somebody's decided to buy them out completely so that they're not on the stock market at all, that they're going back to being private. Both of those could be. The one thing I don't want, because of how many people are employed by that company, up to 14,000, way more than that, actually, if you consider the sides. That is a shit ton of valid people working on whatever they're working on. That's my hope, is that, like, I would love for good news for once. Because there's been times where they've had good news and the stock market did not respond. Amazing news. Valhalla is a really good example of that, where you look at the stock and you're like, whoa, that's weird. It's almost like it was weird. It was, I mean, I'm not saying manipulation, but there were times where, as somebody who's traded stocks since I was like 19, you look at something, you expect things to hit, and you're watching it do exactly the opposite. And you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what is happening right now? This doesn't make any sense. So the split off is one thing that's separate. They could have just decided, we're old. We're just going to run one side splinter thing, and the other thing we're going to get rid of. Or you got a big company that's come in and says blah, blah, blah. I think it's interesting how much the tides have turned, though, because I've always had my issues with Ubisoft. Company, rulership, whatever, good and bad. My issues don't mean I hate them, good and bad. They fought off 3 or 4 hostile takeovers, Vivendi being one of them. And gamers celebrated. They were like, oh, my God. You know, they fought off Vivendi. And now it's gone to the point to where you have people hoping they get crushed and are destroyed and everybody just doesn't have a job. I'm not there. But if we do want to see a big change for them, then this might be it. But no one knows, man. Their stock is so weird that if there's any stock in the world, Johnny, I'm telling you right now, I think Ubisoft is as close to a crypto coin as possible in its volatility. It just doesn't make sense. There are times where I'm like, it fucking went up or it went down. Like, what is going on with this stock? Like, this doesn't make any sense. It feels like some guy just woke up with a ton of shares and decided to do a particular thing, which is a lot more like crypto than it is stocks, especially for a company like them who employs so many people and does do very well. Shadows did very well. Valhalla did very well. Valhalla didn't really adjust their stock much, which was quite surprising when you look at the billions. You could say COVID maybe kept it down, but I don't see how that would be. It didn't keep others down. I don't know, man. We'll have to see. Depends on the timing of everything. I've heard of a lot of companies looking for not West, but a lot of investment companies are looking to scoop up as much as they can while the West industry is down. So we're talking, your East, all of that looking to buy as much as possible because their belief is it's temporary. It's just a sign of how the world works. And we happen to be in a dire time with weird shit with our economy. Go in and scoop it up when it's low. And maybe that's what they're doing. Even though, again, I understand Ubisoft is not West. I'm saying, but they are still known for their Western games that are affected by the Western media more than.
I saw some rumors, right? People saying, "Oh, it's a Tencent."
Yeah, I saw that too.
Takeover kind of thing. You think that's possible?
Do I think it's possible? Yeah, Tencent's got more money than God. Like Tencent could literally buy the wings off of angels.
Yeah, the number they have, like we can't understand it as a
just don't
human.
even try to understand it. Yeah. But I would hope I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, when you have that much, maybe somebody is looking, going, it's not working for us, and this is a way to keep some employed, so we'll sell, whatever. It's a rough time for so many companies.
Yeah.
And then some companies have pulled out too. There have been investment plans. I'm sure you remember this, but Embracer's entire thing was a massive purchase that fell apart like right before it ended up turning out to be a thing. It could be that company, by the way, because they had stated they weren't done looking around. So if you're looking at Embracer, and Embracer had 360, I think they had more IPs than that. Embracer had a ton of IPs, right? So you look at Embracer and you're like, okay, holy shit, these guys have got a bunch of IPs. We're going to buy them. Whatever happens, happens. It doesn't work out. And you continue looking, and now the purchase prices are even lower for some of these companies. And you look over at Ubisoft and you're like, listen, people may bitch about, but they do have a ton of live service games that are still going hugely strong. I always forget the games that they have still going. And then you look at some of their long-term stuff that wasn't Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell and that, they still left a bunch there. Maybe there's that. Maybe there's an investment. Maybe it's not a full purchase too. It could just be get Beyond Good and Evil made. It could be a company stepping in. Elon Musk is like, hey man, I love pigs. Let's get the fucking Beyond Good and Evil 2 made. I want somebody to step in and goose that finances on that game. I would love to see that game be made. Interesting times, man. May you live in them. We got anything else?
Well, we got some questions in the
Let's do it.
Discord if you want.
Fuck yeah. So what are we at?
Penty just...
I want to make sure we're not like even long, right? No, we're good shape. Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Penty just said, shout out to Leave It Alone for being good and simple. Leave clean, raking, blowing game. Just want to call out good cleaner games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Little shout out there.
So is it like a yard simulator? Like a yard cleaner simulator?
No idea.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like. I'll take a look. I like some of those. Odium's Vessel. Brandon Sanderson reference in the nickname, so I appreciate that. I've been playing a bunch of Pacific Drive on Game Pass. It's an absolute gem. Love the Quark system on the car. Also Power Wash Simulator 2, which leads to my question for the podcast. I'm teaching my partner how to play first-person shooter style games and gaming as a whole, as she's expressed interest in playing together. We've done multi-playthroughs of BG3 and Larian's other games. We have found that Power Wash Simulator is a fantastic game for that, as she can practice moving and aiming at the same time. With good feedback for doing it well, without the tension of being shot at all the time. What other games would you guys suggest are good for first-timers into a genre or gaming as a whole?
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even enter into like that discussion? Is like Tetris is a game.
Yeah.
Or you mimic games you played and play those. Monopoly has a bunch of digital versions. Poker has a bunch of and you get somebody accustomed to the controls.
Sure.
That might be
something
a smart
like
way.
Balatro.
Something like Balatro.
Where,
Poker is
I think
involved.
that's good. I was also thinking about that game some people were playing in the Discord. I've played a bit of it, called Megabonk. which is one of those roguelite games, but you don't have to shoot yourself. So it's basically like auto attacking for you, and you have to worry about moving, your positioning, jumping around, picking up stuff, making decisions of like where to spend your money, blah blah blah. But the kind of the gameplay aspect is much simpler because you just have to focus on moving and not shooting. I think some of those can be quite good.
Yeah, I was thinking
I mean,
even way more basic
if you've
than
played
that.
BG3,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
he's saying they
Yeah.
played BG3. You know, I mean, that's.
I feel like BG3 has got enough going on that what he should
Yeah.
do is just turn around
If you
and
got through that,
get
you're
Warhammer
set.
or get Pathfinder
Yeah.
or get another game that get Pillars of Eternity or whatever. The Pillars games. Get those and then be like, we'll just get that person so accustomed to that kind of game that then getting into any other is a far less of a grind. Because Baldur's Gate is not simple. It is not.
No.
It's not simple in its interface. It's not simple. And if I showed that to a new gamer, like a friend who truly hadn't gamed, there would be confusion on even like how you know what something does. I'd be like, oh, you have to click to see it, and be like, why? Should be right there. Like you know what I mean? Because you have
So much we
menus
assume.
and menus and
Yeah.
That's a hard one. But I think Power Wash is also smart because there's no stress. It's a Zen game. Any of the
Zen game,
like the Power Wash, any of the others, House Flipper might be close to it because there's really nothing other than cleaning and building in that. Even though there were times where I was confused on like because I couldn't do something, and I was like, why can't I do this? And you find out it's an upgrade later.
Yeah.
Because they were obviously playing to their fandom and not brand newcomers. But Power Wash is a good one. Power Wash might be like, I mean, that's your first-person shooter. You're quite literally a first-person shooter. So
I would say, dude, Elden Ring is awesome in the seamless co-op mod. I've been playing that with a friend. It's awesome, man. And it's honestly quite easy. Given you're two people.
Are we talking about just Elden Ring? Are we still in the conversation about easy games for newcomers to get into?
Well, no, I'm saying if they played BG3 and they want something more action-based, I think that could be a cool...
Bro,
did I go off the rails here?
Wow, what the fuck? Dude, what the fuck? Because you have time limits and bosses and exact timing on shit? Bro, your expectation from people is way higher than mine. Mine is do not breathe in your own spit while playing this game. That's how low my expectation is for a person learning. Yours is like, man.
Maybe let's go back to the idle shooters I was talking about.
Yeah,
go back to idle shooters.
I love the idea, though. Dude, I want you to fucking Cuphead. Oh, man. Dude, I was so confused because I was listening and my brain was going, well, I didn't get a ton of sleep. But I thought he said Elden Ring.
No, it can't be. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I do believe you may have shot. Maybe I'm shooting low. Maybe you're shooting a bit high, and maybe we can get trial by fire. Hey, that is true. That is true. What's a good game to start? Get good. Yeah, that's your game. Just like fucking Returnal, dude. Can you imagine that somebody's played like Solitaire and Minesweeper, and you're like, dude, you got this. You know where buttons. You know what buttons do well. Let's play Returnal.
Instantly dead.
Oh my god!
Instantly.
Can you imagine?
First room. By the way,
dude. God, that'd be fun. It would be so rude because you may fuck somebody up for life. They may be like, I ain't doing this ever again. Whew. Bit says working my way through Wheel of Time audiobooks.
Holy shit, man!
It's gonna be a lot.
I mean, enjoy the journey. That is a life journey.
It is a Wheel of Time, man. Like, that is a. I don't even know how long they are, but if a normal audiobook can be 10 hours. That I'm assuming that's a long fucking time. I'm assuming that's a long one, man. That'd be crazy.
Dude, some of these long books are 40 hours. Like, imagine it's crazy.
It's nuts.
Anyway, enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy your Elden Ring, newcomer. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Enjoy your Cuphead. Fucking, that's awesome. Anyway, what else do we got?
Hell yeah.
Oh, man.
Let's see. Pillowcase was talking about the Gabe box with 8 GB VRAM.
Oh, nothing.
Gabe box. Yeah, we touched on that.
It's not what I heard.
Right.
What else we got?
Rusted said What is your favorite video game weapon introduced in the last 10 years? Holy moly. It's got to be something incredible.
Last 10 years. I mean, has there been like man, it's not what I heard either.
Okay, guys in chat, come on, man. I
yes,
saw that.
Yeah. A new weapon. Like, I mean, there's been such a plethora of just the same. I mean, I don't think anybody's really inventing. I mean, yes, there's going to be new weapons, but it's like, for the most part, the furniture's the same. M4 is your base.
I mean, so much of it is derivative, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's been done in some way.
Because prior to that, I would have said the Needler from Halo. I thought that obviously.
I think that is a good one, to be fair.
But it's prior to 10 years. It's way longer than 10 years ago.
Okay,
you said a decade, so. Yeah.
I mean, I think about stuff like in Outer Worlds, the one that can like shrink enemies. That's super cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's not new, but it is cool.
I don't know if you can say like it's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, maybe we haven't seen it in that way, but.
Returnal had some cool stuff. That is true. Returnal had, but I mean, they were just laser guns. Like they were, you know what I mean? Like, trying to think of like.
I will tell you though, the game Guns, I think it's Gungeon. Yeah, Enter the Gungeon. It was a 2D, you know, I mean, they looked like shit because they were just pixels, but they had some super cool ideas of weapons there. Like there was a really funny one that was a bullet-shaped pistol that shot pistols.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that idea.
Anyway, they had a lot of these little fun ones.
I think Borderlands is really good with it. I was going to say
Borderlands.
I was going to say chain weapons in. They're not the first because the whip was in Emperor's Tomb on Indiana Jones. It's not the first.
Yeah, but that mechanic with the chain,
it's getting better.
Really cool.
And it's such a hard thing to do with physics and stuff. It's getting better. Pentagon says, "Oh yeah, I think Hirosagama is new, but it's pretty well done in recent years." Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been done before, but over time the chain stuff has become more feasible and looks good. What else we got?
Yeah, Borderlands had a weapon that was called the Spanish something, and when you shot it, it was just someone screaming. The joke being that Spanish people speak very loudly, like they're screaming all the time.
Goal! That would be awesome. I thought you were going to say Spanish Fly, and like you shot it and their groin itched, and I was going to be like, that'd be funny as fuck. What else we got?
Let's see. Knucklehead says, not a question, but I thought this might be a fun thing to throw near the end. Kind of like the interesting science facts you guys do sometime. Gaming fun fact. If you play Minecraft on the Xbox 360 using something other than HDMI, you can't actually split screen. Remember, the 360 originally launched without HDMI output, only component. Yeah. Yeah. Is there something about the cable that could change in the future? Where like we just have a new cable.
Get a new cable.
That can do, you know.
USB-C is the magic right now. USB-C is crazy. It can deliver 140 watts, right? I think right now. Maybe Thunderbolt's the one that does that, but it can deliver at least 100 watts, which is more than good enough for any monitor. It can do video. It can do video game graphics across the USB-C. USB-C is one of the worst designed attachments I've ever seen for structure, but for not flipping it up 3,000 times, it's great. It's a little small, so getting it into the back of a device or even in the front of a device, because it is so small, sometimes you're like, man, it would have almost been better, but I get why they did it.
And it doesn't quite attach.
It does not.
Because the HDMI cable is like a dog.
HDMI, if you get an HDMI in the back of a console, you're going to pull the console off that fucking table the moment you try to yank that out. Because that HDMI is like, bitch, you may not like
in
me,
there,
but I'm here. And it puts little fucking anchors out, and you're like, DP is worse. The dual display port, because it requires you to like hammer down on a button That's why I actually buy display ports with the new quick release, so I don't have to worry about the button thing, and you just lightly.
Yeah,
and I
because
mean
that could
lightly
break, by the
squeeze
way.
it. Yeah,
Like sometimes that mechanism could break, and then
yeah. But
it's kinda
USB-C
stuck.
is magical, man. I mean, when you think about
Yeah.
the throughput of a USB, the biggest issue I have with USB is they're so short. You literally start losing signal within
Right.
3 feet, and then you get all kinds of issues.
Since they're so small as well, like the throw of the cable can
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
move or even detach the cable
Yeah.
at times.
And I broke so many USB-Cs by putting even slight pressure on the top over a period of time, plugging them in.
Oh,
And then because it's such, there's just no metal to be supportive in there. And so
Yeah.
after a while, it's really just a piece of rubber with 2 prongs and then the cylinder. And so quickly those prongs bend down and then the cylinder is like wonky. And by the way, I've seen that go bad. If you get that, I've seen people just grab it and bend it back. And I'm like, nah, man, the amount of watts that USB-C can deliver, I wouldn't be fucking around with any, with any device like that. They just a terrible, terrible structural design, but an amazing ease, quality of use versus USB-A, which like this shit, man. That piece of shit, dog fucker. This thing has delivered unto me so many years of stress. It's ridiculous. And this one has the double where you just, my green screen, but you have the double so you can put the USB-C over the top of the A, thank God. The USB-A, man, it's not as bad as USB, I think it's B, which looks like 2 rectangles fucking. It's like a bottom and a top kind
that was
of thing.
insane looking.
It was insane looking, and it was actually quite a shit throughput on it. And I have it for a couple HDMI devices, and I'm like, why do I have this piece of shit? Like,
that's like printers using it nowadays.
It's like beta versus VHS. You're like, one of you bitches is going to lose, and we're going to be saddled with your piece of shit in my house, which I do have a couple of those. And by the way, USB-B to A converters are very rare. You can't just get a USB converter where you slot that on. There are not that many attachers you can just get and put on there. At least there wasn't last time I looked last year. But Ethernet ports are also pretty shit for their connect. I mean, I've torn the tab off RJ
so many times, dude. I've been screwed.
I've had to push my router against a wall so the wall holds the wire in because that wire had a broken thing. And I'm just like, my wife is like, oh, do you need another wire? And I'm like, what? Shh. And I just pushed the router against the wall. And she's like, damn, how much of the house is set up like this? And I'm like, you don't want to know. Just don't apply side pressure
don't ask
to anything
questions
in the house. Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. The plumbing, all set up that way. No, I'm just joking. What else we got?
You also had in here Where Winds Meet.
Oh yeah,
MEAT. By the way,
Where Winds Meet.
Yeah,
I was.
You did a preview on that.
I was. Yeah, I mean, it looked exciting. It didn't get the greatest reviews. I'm still going to check it out off the side. Unlike a lot of MMOs that come out there where there's nothing, that one's been out for a while. It's got a ton of content in it. It also will take a picture of you, and or your voice, and put them on the character. Which I'm telling you right now. Not suggesting you do, just saying. But I like some of the stuff that they've shown. Looks like it's got a lot of content, so I'm still excited to check it out. I'm not saying I'm excited because it's good. But yeah, it was cool to see. I mean, it came out on the 14th. It came out today, or technically. So it came out on the same day as Call of Duty. Sort of ballsy of them. But yeah, I'm still going to check it out. I just wanted to make the pun. Honestly, Where Winds Meet.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I feel like that's all I wanted to do, and I had nothing else to add.
Well, it feels like a bit sadly that's all the game has given. It's it's those puns, because not a lot of people talking about it. I saw a couple of previews. I saw Fighting Cowboy also did one. He was talking about the combat and stuff. It looked quite fun for a free game. So yeah, I'm curious why it hasn't really connected too much with people. Doesn't seem to be getting much attention.
Yeah. A lot of stuff out right now. Like I'm assuming Call of Duty's numbers won't, even if it was great, I don't think Call of Duty's numbers would be great right now because the release schedule we're at a point where it's ridiculous. You also have 2 good shooter games, and BF6 is its actual competitor, and they've got a bunch of stuff. They've fucked up a couple times, but they've also done really well. And they have a bunch of new content, and they're smart. They're releasing it on these days. They're like, oh, yeah, you're coming out on the 14th? Well, we know we got some fans, so we're releasing our shit right around that time, too. We're going to try to eat your lunch a little bit. So,
Yeah,
just the way it is.
plus Ghost of Yotei and all these samurai games, so it could also be a bit of like... people are
Yeah, I mean, Ghost of
done
Yotei, I would... Oh, that kind of martial arts. Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
a bit of fatigue from
There's definitely fatigue. Yeah, you see a katana now, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, and I love that stuff, but it's been a lot in the last 2-3 years. Neo 3 is going to suffer
Even your
from
favorite
this too.
food, dude. If you had it 3 days in a row,
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah.
Like,
At least most people would be. Yeah. What else we got?
you probably would.
I would
Keep
not
going.
for a lot of foods, but I know where you're coming from. Yeah. I agree.
A1 Nagel says, what's the best way or your preferred way to game on a flight? Sitting in economy.
If I had to, well, I'd read. But if I had to play a game, it'd probably be like the
Like
Unreal.
physical book?
Yeah.
Ebook?
Probably physical. I have no real issue with an ebook or a tablet turned on gray. So, but I would say, yeah, probably, if not reading, it'd probably be the Unreal glasses and whatever device I had plugged into them. I think those are good. They don't look goofy. I mean, they do a little bit, but they don't look like a fucking bug head on your head, like a VR, like the frame or whatever. I think they're very good. They have good enough sound. So I would definitely use those. I talked to Lord Addict, who went to Japan, and he used them for another flight as well. I think he used them in Japan flight, but he definitely used them prior to that. And seemed like they were exactly what he wanted, which was a self-contained game with a nice size screen with no loss of fidelity. So I'd probably do that. Super light too. What about you?
Makes sense. I haven't been on a flight in quite a while. Probably do a bit of Steam Deck or read a book too. I mean,
I feel like reading a book would also, it's going to sound weird, but other than stewardesses like crop dusting you, most of the time or somebody huge in the seat next to you, if you get like the mountain sitting next to you, it's going to be rough. But let's say you're just sitting in an airplane flight. I think a book with the constant, I like the blanket of sound. So I think that would be actually maybe not soothing, but it would probably be pretty nice to just sit and read. I don't know. I haven't talked to a lot of people who fly so much that they have this kind of experience, but I feel like I would be able to read and it would be nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Until you hit turbulence and your head's buried in a book and your ass drops out from under you, and then you're like, fuck this, I'm just staring straight forward for the rest of the flight. Just locked in. I'm not moving.
Yeah.
What else we got?
This one from Ghidra. Currently playing through Assassin's Creed Shadows and jumping into some operations in 40K Space Marine.
Oh.
Nice. Question. Is there a franchise or property that either has no representation or poor representation in gaming that you would love to see a game made, and what style would you like to see it made in? For me, I would love to see a Predator game made in the style Assassin's Creed, Ghost Recon Wildlands, where you're tracking, hunting targets, humans and creatures alike, to collect trophies in order to rank up among the Predator ranks. Unlock new gear along with being able to craft gear in field using resources found in the environment. That's a good one. They did have Predator in Wildlands, right? But it was an enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, what franchise? We've talked a lot about Lord of the Rings and how like it's super hard to
get that shit out of my Lord of the Rings needs to be fucking tapped out. They're the fucking Tom Brady. They showed up, they did really well, but after a while you're like, I don't know, man. You
how many
like
second chances, man?
Yeah, get out. Get out of Amazon, get everything. Lord of the Rings needs to give us a hiatus, man. They're the funny friend who shows up one time too many, and you're like, I've been that friend, by the way, where people are like, this is too much. I need some downtime. Give
First
us,
time was great.
Yeah.
Like,
give us a 5-year separation.
Some birth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I I mean, there's a bunch of really easy ones. My problem isn't finding a
Okay.
hard one because, like, yeah, like Wild Cards, even though there's the boys, Wild Cards was like what started the boys. I would say Wild Cards I would kill, but
Yep.
it's not, it probably wouldn't be acceptable in today's market because of some of the stuff. Dragonlance I would kill for. They had some SSI games back in the Apple II and Commodore days, but they're not covered anymore. Forgotten Realms I would love to see covered, including the main character from the Dark Elf series. The problem is I believe they've completely retconned that because Dark Elves people thought was a racial discrimination thing. So they've like removed some of the ideals that Dark Elves are evil and now they're just, you know, can choose, which is, I fucking never understood that. So I don't know how that would play anymore. Because I would love to see if you took those books and you made them into a game, that would be one of the coolest fucking games in the world because their civilization was highly interesting at the time. And there was no racial whatever, you know. It got sort of kiboshed at the time. Stranger Things as a Telltale game, I would kill for. Maybe do, I don't know how you would do it in the timeline, but I like Stranger Things. I like Telltale style games. Fucking love that.
Yeah, those are a great fit. I think wildcards would work in a dispatch format.
Well, you just did point out it's interesting because I can't spoil Dispatch. There's stuff in Dispatch that is well above, well, it's not well above R-rated, but it is R-rated minimum. There's certain things,
mature.
Right?
Definitely.
And they also stated they cut some sex scenes. Thank God they did, because I don't think that would have even made sense. I think the ambiguity is much better than
Agreed.
if you were, you know, fisting somebody. Like, we don't need to see that. I'm just
Right,
saying,
right.
I don't want to see a quick time,
But yeah, right.
you know.
Drag bumper or whatever.
I just don't need to see it. So I don't need that. But you are right that, and Wild Cards just had some. So this is Wild Cards is by the guy who did Game of Thrones and his friends who did a D&D game. And then they wrote. The problem is there was a lot of homophobia in it because it was written in the 70s,
Oh, really?
80s. Yeah. There's the words they use would be okay in the boys. They use the, you know, FAGGOT.
they
They
do.
use words I wouldn't even use when I was young, let alone now. So there's some stuff that you'd have to fix there. There was some definitely high sexual energy stuff. I think you are right, though. I think you did remind me that we've sort of gone away from the, I guess you would say it, the fear-mongering of everything being bad back towards a little bit more normal. So you probably could get away with it. Yeah, you probably could.
I think
So
you
I
could,
take
yeah,
that.
you could adapt it,
Yeah.
you know, make it a bit more
Yeah.
family friendly.
Mash Circle. Oh, you mean for the Mash Circle actually fits. That's almost a double entendre. Mash Circle.
Yeah, there you go. Mash the circle.
Let's see. IPs. I mean, that's the
You
thing
know,
with
there is
IPs.
this-
There's so many.
Yeah, there's so many. And some of them are difficult to turn into a game, right? Because like games need to follow a structure.
Yeah, like how would you do a Goliath game? Would I play it?
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
exactly.
But it's not even near that one game with the bird that points. Fucking the Lawbird. What's his name? Lawbird McBirdie. What the fuck is that game called? Where it's a lawyer who's a bird and he's always yelling objection.
Oh yeah,
what I'm
objection.
talking about.
Isn't it called objection or something?
No. It's not. No, it can't be called objection.
Okay.
So Fahrenheit had an interactive scene. Yeah, we just played Fahrenheit 2 weeks ago. Amutski and I did. Yeah, when we did our FMV weekend, we played Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it was hella awkward because their graphics were shit.
And
so
you
like
see shit that's happening. You're
Yeah.
like, that's a sex scene, but I can't tell how many polygons are being used. Just saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clipping going on.
You know, I was thinking about this book series called Carl Dungeon Crawler.
Yeah, the Carl.
Sorry, Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Thank you, Ace Attorney. He said Ace Attorney.
Oh yeah,
He
Ace
answered the
Attorney.
question.
There you go.
Continue with Dungeon Crawl.
Dungeon Crawler Carl is nice because it is fairly structured. It follows a bit of like a Hunger Games kind of thing, where you could have different levels or like dungeons to it. That makes sense. And it has the cat character, Princess Donut, and they like the banter between them is really nice. So you could have a cool dynamic going on with some fun gameplay. So that came to mind for sure. I'd like to see that.
I would say if I had my druthers, it would be hard because we know the ending, but I would say Supernatural would probably be one of the best examples
Yeah.
of an IP. And there's
Dude.
there's three reasons why. One, the actors are all behind it. They've done anime, they've done side shows, and they voiced stuff. They're all very cool with current day tech, meaning it would be quite easy to get them to buy into it. That would be great. You do know the ending and you know the start, but you also don't know before Dean and Sam really got back together at the starting of the first season. You don't really know what Dean was doing for a while. So you could do like you could do a side one, or there's been times where 6 months has passed in the show. I think Supernatural is also one of the more witty shows that continue to be witty because they liked each other and they fed off each other with a lot of improv. If you could get that in a game, that would be fucking...
Yeah.
If you got the Dispatch guys to do a Supernatural game, I would be there. It wouldn't even have to be them. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
As
Plus, you could have the decision of like, do you kill the monster or do you like catch them or like save them or, try to...
Yeah, you could do a bunch of stuff. It'd be fun.
change, you could have decisions around that. That's nice.
What else we got for questions?
Well, you put in here that Red Dead Redemption is coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Switch too.
Yeah, an improved version, and it's coming via Netflix as well for the people who have Netflix accounts. Mobile.
Oh, wow.
Great game. I'm going to play it no matter what. I'm going to play it even though I own it. I mean, on everything that it's been out on, I own, and probably any remasters or any collections I own. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna play that. Do we have any other questions?
We have, let's see. Livid was saying, what if the Valve box had a cartridge with an NVIDIA eGPU that you could put on top, like the Genesis 32X? At least now you can have DLSS.
Maybe he means AMD. It's that would be because it's AMD that the device is. I don't think they'd want to do a video card from a completely different maker of their hardware. That would be really weird because it's an AMD device. But you could do an AMD video card in an eGPU.
Maybe you have like an expandable.
Yeah. No, you don't
slot.
need it. The reason why there'll never be an expandable slot for that, there could be for consoles, is because currently there are already eGPUs that you do with USB 4 anyway, or you do Optilink. So they probably just, most likely, because they're not spending a ton of money, they're not going to make a special port. Well, by the way, B-Link now has a bunch of mini PCs where you slide a dial off the bottom, and there is a PCI slot there. And you can quite literally buy docks and slide it in and put your video card on the dock, and you now have a full PC. That already exists. So USB, Octilink, and they lose some, USB and Octilink both lose some percentage points in their power, but you've already lost some with the CPU. So it's like they work quite well. I've got two for my different devices, and I don't just use them for like AI. I'm using them for games. They work quite well. It wouldn't be NVIDIA, be AMD, but they could. I would assume Valve, why build it when a wire works? If anything, they would probably just do an Optilink. And I don't think we heard any word whatsoever that there's any kind of device like that in that system. There is USB 4. I don't know if they said what the gigabytes is. If it's 40, again, it's going to lose. USB stacks pretty heavy. You lose some percentage points. When you're doing that. I've lost some on mine, but well worth it anyway if you have a video card sitting around. Got a free upgrade right there. So yeah, we'll have to see. I think consoles though.
Yeah.
Dreamcast, Xbox 360, and the series versions all played with dual GPU systems and ideas before they started moving in a certain way, and they've all messed with dual providers in a certain way, and they've all looked at modular interfaces and upgrades in a certain way, because I do believe that could be a much better deal for a consumer than getting a whole new device. I'm not saying they want a better deal for the consumer, but if you had a console APU that's pretty powerful, which these are quite good APUs for what they're doing, and you use that for 2 years, and instead of a PlayStation Slim that looks like Spider-Man, and we're going to charge you
just get an upgrade to your system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some of these eGPUs are pretty powerful. So like the little box ones you can get for the handhelds, dude, that'd be sort of the future, to be like, oh yeah, you can just take this one off, I've
Yeah.
seen schematics of motherboards that basically have not a removable PCI, but they have a hard slotted card in the PCI, and you literally take it off, but you don't have to take your case apart to do it. You do 2 slots, you pull it out like a
Yeah, like a module.
yeah, like a module. I'm trying to like when you an
component.
external that has a hard drive in it, where you can just pull that out, put
Yeah.
a new hard drive in. GPUs, that would be. This is just me saying, if I was doing it, I would love that, because you would lose some efficiency from the CPU not getting better, most likely, just like we did with the PS5 Pro. You will lose some of that. But imagine the hardware updates. Like, let's say it is just ray tracing, and it's the hardware FSRs that are coming out. Redstone, I think, is the newest machine learning from FSR. Imagine something else is planned from AMD. That, dude, I mean, I'm all for, especially Microsoft. Microsoft is like, hey, our APU is massive. This system is going to be high end to the point to where we don't even need to worry. We're saying it early that this thing is going to be insane. It's like, and it even sounds like most people who have seen some of the schematics are like, it for sure is more powerful than anything else coming. It's going to cost more. But in that cost, why don't you return the chance of a person maybe buying into the future and saying, okay, it's a mini PC in this way, but it's got a slotted in card instead of getting a whole new device. And let's be honest, man, CPUs are great, but you know how it is, dude. You get a CPU that, as long as it's pretty good, what are we replacing more often? We are replacing the GPUs more often. Imagine suddenly we go from a Steam device that's got 8 gigs of VRAM, and you have a slot there, and you're like, now you got 16 or 24. That's a massive improvement. So, yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool. 32X sucked balls, though. I had one. I had a leaning tower pizza. I had like 19. I had Sonics connect, because I don't know if you knew this, but like there were Sonic games that you would plug on top of each other, and they would add the character from the other game into the current cartridge.
What the hell?
Yeah. But then, listen to this. You could plug the 32X one in, then you could plug that one in, then you could plug the others in, and there's a picture. This works, by the way. There's a picture of, I swear to shit, it's like 6 or 7 cartridges, because they all worked in some way with the 32X. And that thing was an electric disaster. No lie. To get it to work, you had to take a metal prong and fit it into the fucking cartridge slot of the Sega Genesis. If there is something that is more dangerous, I would like to know. Because I know a lot of kids weren't unplugging their Sega Genesis and throwing that bracket in there and sticking their fingers in there. Now, I'm not saying there was a bunch of electronics in there that would shock a person's fingers, but a metal bracket? I feel like that's...
Damn, dude.
I feel like they were... Whoa. My dog just had a severe nightmare right there. I think technically that's pretty dangerous. And I did.
Yeah.
I did it. And that thing bent. Dude, if you looked at it from the front, it looked fine. If you turned it on its side, it would, no lie, it would actually be like this. Go look it up. It is the craziest thing in the world. And Sega was like, cartridges on cartridges, baby. It was just they embraced it. Yeah.
All right.
Is that the last of the questions?
We got a few more. You mentioned here, speaking about the shortage, I think we talked about the memory shortage, right? Yeah. That's what you mentioned before. Murdy says, with the smashing success of Arc Raiders, despite the usual anti-AI Reddit boycotts, do you think more devs will opt to do something with AI they couldn't risk before? Okay, so is it a precedent that people will follow? Well, I guess Finals did it first. So it's technically already happening.
I don't see any company waking up and saying, we're going to switch our workflow to add AI when they didn't already. That would be weird. It would probably delay the game, even with the efficiencies of AI, to just add it in.
Yeah.
Maybe voice.
But new projects probably.
But I think the better question
probably are looking at it. No?
I think the better question is, honestly, not even a question. How many are doing it without saying anything?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And how many do
and it
I
was
know
funny because
that are not saying anything?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Dude.
You've heard some...
Dude, go in... Oh, man. You can tell because of just what somebody will say on a post or in a Discord or whatever. Yes, of course. And the thing is they're not they're like people who sometimes are on big teams, sometimes on small teams, who are just like, there's an efficiency here that we are going to get absolutely destroyed if we don't come up with a smart way to do it. And I think finals is a lesson on how you can do it. Well, let me give you an example. Saw an article today where a person was talking to the developer of the finals, and the person was trying to throw shade on what they said. By the way, I'll throw shade on what they said. They did say some dumb stuff. But what they were saying, I literally was reading it going, this person does not know what they're talking about. They actually were making factual mistakes, but nobody's calling on that because currently it's okay to just smash it. But at some point, we need to return more to accuracy when you want to discuss it so that you can hold people. Let's say I said, I'm going to give you a speeding ticket. And you said, oh, shit, how fast was I going? And I'm like, no fucking clue. None. I'm just going to give you a ticket. That's where AI is right now. There's people who are like, this is okay, this isn't okay, this is okay, this isn't okay. And there's companies who are like, whoa, shit, we're not going to use it. Other companies are like, well, we want to use it for this thing that's always stymied us and slowed down games, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, yeah, but we're not going to tell you how fast you're going, but we're going to choose when you get the ticket and who gets it. That's where we are now. And the people who are policing it don't even know what they're talking about. They're not even a clue. And the reason why is AI requires a intensive, you know this, requires an intense amount of training. How many times would you talk to me and I'd be like, oh, try this. And you're like, what? I didn't even know that. How would I know to try that? I'm like, yeah, that's people reporting on it right now. They have no clue. It requires actual study. That's why I'm studying it all the time to figure out what I need to do.
Even
when
just
I talk about these
not
things.
like, not even how it works under the hood, but how to use it.
How to use it, the terms. I've seen people use AI. I told you, I got asked, how do I feel about Halo? Halo's had AI for like 25 years. How do I feel about that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I realized they were talking about the AI in Halo. They had no clue that the AI in Halo
completely different
is not
systems.
Yes, right. Yeah. So, or where you hear somebody think everything's generative and everything's stole from somebody. And you're like, actually, no, that is absolutely not true. So we're in a problem. I think that finals shows that you make a good game, you make a good game. That's the only thing I have taken away from finals. I don't like finals nearly as much as everybody else at all. Like not even close. But I can tell you right now, it hasn't taught us anything about, I don't think it's taught us anything about AI use. It's taught us that if you make a good game, people will enjoy your game. And that's sort of the history moving forward with any technological advances we get, is just that'll win out no matter what. Everybody can't know everything. There's some guy who is playing a mobile game, Johnny, who has no clue. You and I have an issue that gotcha replaced microtransactions in a lot of platforms. He has no clue. So it's like, what are we going to do? Are we going to stop everybody and say, before you buy this, let me explain to you the 77 terms you need to know and the 55 different things that you need to make sure that you don't support? It doesn't work like that. So all I get from it is that the finals was good, and this is good. What else is there to know? I mean, we need to, it's past us. It's gone. We've lost the war, Johnny. I mean, the AI is out there. It's gone.
It's out there.
Let me tell you this.
I struggle with that because what can you do about it? Like, it sucks that some people are not getting that job.
Yep.
Where in a different world, they would have had to pay someone to do it.
Yep.
And it's a similar trouble that like truckers run into, right? And like people are being displaced by AI in different fields. This is not
trucking's
the
a
only
big one. Do you? I'll tell you this too, Johnny. Let's say your company passed a law internally or a rule that said no AI for work. No AI for work, right? Okay, so let's say you accept that. This is outside of gaming, but your software. So let's say somebody said that. How many people do you think behind the scenes would be working or doing homework or in some way augmenting what they were doing at work by working from home with a personal AI? Probably an insane amount, especially if they see positive benefits from it. It's just, that's the way it's going to be.
How it is.
Yeah, it's just how it is. Yeah, we lost horse armor. Yeah, I lost the war against, I lost the war before horse armor. I think it was that fucking virtual fighter skin I downloaded and realized there was no chance I just downloaded the entire skin. I had to have downloaded a key to unlock it, and I was so mad.
Yeah.
And we should continue to bring it up, and we should continue to talk about it, but we should also be aware that if you draw a bunch of lines in the sand, all it's going to look like is a minesweeper field, and people are just going to try to dodge the mines, which is what we do right now. You draw a line in the sand, this isn't okay. This person draws a line in the sand, this isn't okay. And now there's a bunch of minefields. So what do you get? Submarines. You get everybody going under that. And that's what you're going to have. You're going to have people who are just going to not talk about it, and they're going to be using it anyway. And
yeah, it's better to be transparent about
we need
what
to have,
you're doing.
Yeah,
right?
you need to have people at like events who talk about how you use those tools that are out there. And by the way, this isn't the first time. I'm sure you saw it, but I was talking to Reg about it when he was doing programming autocomplete. He's like, dude, autocomplete's existed for fucking 10 years. You know, even if it was generic autocomplete, it's existed. Grammar spell check has existed for 25 years. Are we expecting the person who's using it to know instantly which version they're getting? And then we just say, yeah, I know it helped you, but you now have to stop. Instead, we should be really getting on top of it and being like, dude, we need to really fix this and make sure that people know. I love the idea that Steam tells you to put it down, but I think the finals showed you that no one cared. Yeah. Because the finals and Arc Raiders had it right there. There.
It was right there.
It was like, we use it for generating animations, we use it for the voices, I can't remember what else. And by the way, there is no requirement for them to say more than that at all. That's the requirement. But they still do interviews about it and talk about it. I think that's great. But then AI now needs to be termed so that we know, is generative AI what we're talking about? Because there are other programs that use AI that are not generative that also will be able to take
procedural
jobs.
Kind of thing, you know.
And this happened with procedural too. Now, it's a good point to mention, because I brought that up to Reg. I was like, it's interesting to me that I feel like we have a lot of deja vu, because we talked about this. Remember when procedural was a bad term? Procedural, it's
100%.
still, it's used poorly and we bring it up, but if it's used well, we don't. And I feel like maybe we'll go there with that.
It's become a tool in the craft, you know.
And for a lot of people, procedural, Shadow of a Doubt uses procedural for all that shit that they use in that game. And you're looking at it going like, man, that's exciting, because they've gotten better at using procedural. Yeah, it's a weird one, man. I don't know. I think
we'll have to see.
Voice actors in this game were paid too.
Yeah.
So, you know, they were told that this is what was going to happen. Do you want the job or not? And then I heard somebody say, well, yeah, but what if they only took the job because they needed the money? And I'm like, bitch, that's how a job works. Like,
that's quite literally how the job market
is. Like, what are we doing right now? Like, that's so diving in the mud, man. What else we got?
The funny part was last thing on that, like people saying, I didn't notice they had AI voices.
Yeah.
And that feels like, not to be rude to this person, but that kind of feels like out of touch, because we're way past the point where you could notice, you know, if it's a good model, right? Do you agree? I think we're just way past the point where you can easily hear a big difference.
There are some models that in a game where there's a bark, you would not be able to tell for sure.
But the longer stuff, you still think
you probably can pick up on. Vibe voice was Microsoft's, and it was so good they removed the larger model. So they had a 7.8 gig and a 14 point something gig, and the large model was insane, to the point of being like, wow, this may not be, but it's out there because it was uploaded, which is the problem with the internet. It's uploaded. You're done. Revenge porn is a big subject that pops up that somebody can go and sue, but it's there. It's there. It's in the world. There is absolutely it is. It can be
re-uploaded.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a lost battle.
So I would say there are probably 3 models I know of that are close enough that a bark would be impossible to tell. No one would know. That's not including cloning, and that's not including if you add a robot-style voice to it or you add a modulator. If you want an alien, blah, 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 you are good to go with it. I would assume in other markets where maybe it's not as negative, like Eastern markets, we've seen some companies, the Eastern markets, say we won't use it, but most are. I mean, they're one of the leaders of AI. Where if you add a little dirt on it, it would be impossible. Yeah. So, and the other thing that's impossible is the writing. If you want to correct your writing, you want to correct your spelling, if you want to translate, remember Alters got caught for that because they didn't claim it, and they should have. The Alters came out and they got caught having the correction at the end. It said like, "You're welcome, and if you want me to correct this, blah blah blah," and they put it in a PDA display that you could find laying around, and they got slammed for it. And they rightfully, if you're using it for your translation, using it for whatever, you put it in your Steam and you deal with the repercussions. And they didn't.
Yeah.
But Finals and Arc did, and they show. I think they show quite easily that for a lot of gamers, wherever it's used,
didn't matter.
If it was a Telltale Dispatch game with that much voice, it would matter.
Yeah,
dude. Come on.
Different context
completely. If it's a bark from a bad guy, not a thing. If it's like,
or if it's a JRPG, where they do a little bark when they spit out the text.
Yeah. But if it's like a Mass Effect, that would be horrendous. But I will say the cloning is crazy. The cloning is, I think, what people should worry about, and they're not. They are worrying about it because the Finals uses cloning, but I'm talking about like, it's the person's voice, and now you're saying you can't. By the way, I saw this about the Finals, where somebody was mad at the voice actor and was like, "You can't do that. You should not be allowed to use your voice in whatever way you want." And I'm like, whoa, that's some Orwellian dystopian shit where you're trying to tell somebody they can't. You know.
Oh, so the actual actor,
is
okay not allowed to.
And this person was saying you are to the actors. You're like, you're not.
Yeah, I think that's kind of
that came up with
off the rails.
I want to point out that, you know, all hats off to him, but it came up with what's his name? He was the one who brought this up like 4 years ago with the NFTs. Joel from what the fuck's his name? The voice actor.
Yeah, Baker, Troy Baker.
Yeah, Troy Baker. No? Yeah, Troy Baker brought up. He was like, these are ways to, you know, sort of put your voice in the blockchain to protect you, and so that you get paid when that's played, or you get paid, blah blah blah. And I gave him shit. Everybody did, because I'm going to admit, whatever was going on there, I'm not saying it was a perfect implementation, but he was thinking, or somebody who talked to him was slightly thinking ahead towards how do we protect a person's ability to do what they want. Which, remember, we live in an individual right now. Gaming's considered individual, but we're not. The moment you stomp on something else, you're not embracing individuality. So we're like, oh, you can do whatever you want, but you can't do that. And you're like, all right, here we go. You can't use your voice. You can't do this. Music is the other one. Music is huge. AI music is massive. I've seen AI music pass multiple human tests, as in 100%. 100% without fail pass a person's test to see if anybody could identify. Was it voice? No. It was like background, background music, stuff like that. Yeah, we're living in it, man. We're living in it. I think it's great, though, that Finals did their alert. They followed whatever rules they need to follow, and maybe that's why they're not getting attacked so much, because they did follow the rules. They did,
They stated what they did.
What they're being now, though, because they succeeded. Did you see the article? I talked about this, and the reason why I don't know what to repeat is because I talked about this in the side podcast. But the thing that came up that was surprising to me is how little information the people complaining had, where I'm like, dude, if you really want to attack this, there are ways to do it. But instead, they were saying stupid shit. Like, one of the stupidest things I saw was the Eurogamer review, where the guy said he stated, Arc Raiders has made so much money, they could have recorded all those voices. And I'm like, that's fucking going back in time. Like, what are we talking about?
I hadn't thought of it that way when I saw the Eurogamer stuff. But after I listened to your podcast, that seemed really stupid thing to say. Because how could you change retroactively? Or I guess maybe if you expect a certain level of success, you would then, that
would be great if I could go to the bank and say, I expect a certain level of success, can have all your money. But I mean, that would be fucking ridiculous. So it was just, and then the constant, like, well, it's actually not this, it's this. And it's like, you don't understand that developer. I mean, they've been pretty clear. It's exactly what it is. You may not like
Yeah.
it, but it's exactly what it is. I don't even have an issue with the review. Like I said, I got some people mad at me because I wasn't really coming down on the reviewer, and I was like, well, because in all honesty, your attacks on AI, unless they destroy the game, should be left to an article. If you're reviewing the game and you do a good job in your context of why that bothers you, then I can't say you're any different than me hating voice acting enough in a game to say I didn't like this game. However, when you look at the sentiment of the piece, which is something that you can get software for that doesn't use AI, it counts verbs and nouns, their meanings, the power, the impact, then you go back and look at prior reviews and you see that only one time in the history of all of those articles does voice ever get mentioned. And you start going, this person doesn't seem to care about voice, but the 2 times they have mentioned it are these 2, which seem to indicate that it's the AI issue, which seems to indicate that would be best on an article, especially when that was 80% positive, 20% sentiment negative. And weirdly enough, their score, which was 2 out of 5, reverses that to basically 20% positive, 80% negative.
I thought
so.
I thought that angle
confusion comes from.
You had, because you explained this in more detail in the side podcast. If people haven't seen that in the prior one, but I thought that angle was really new. I haven't heard people talk about that. But I feel like now in retrospect, thinking I have seen reviews where people harp on a specific thing that seems like a big deal to them in the review, but it was not something that they ever talk about in other reviews. You know, like some prominent reviewers I've seen this with. And for some reason, that issue, it just kind of became something way bigger out of nowhere, which then begs the question, are you really authentically bothered that much by this thing? Why all of a sudden, just kind of a whole set of questions surrounding like authenticity and
definitely because I also want to know if I'm doing AI voice, because I would mention if I review a game. And I said this, 3 years ago, where I said I could already tell AI was going so far where I'm like, it will happen where somebody won't tell me there's AI. It won't be on the Steam page, and I'm going to review a game and say it sounds good, and I'm going to get attacked because I will have fucked it up. It will happen because AI will get that good. Whether it might be a cloned voice. It might be like your cloned voice in a game, and I'll think it was you because maybe it wasn't long or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I didn't pick up on it. It sounded really good. That will happen. I think it is important, but I think also nobody wants to attack. It sounds like you're attacking a person when you say the voice acting isn't good. And nobody wants to cover that. Nobody wants to cover that you get a bunch of people together. They may not have the talent to make a good game. Nobody wants to mention that. Because it's uncomfortable to people. But to me, it's like, it's not uncomfortable because I'm all, well, who knows who it is? Could be the voice actor. Could have been the voice director. Shit happens. But whenever I hear, oh my God, these voices are boring, I'm like, man, have you played a JRPG? Have you listened to some of the absolutely horrendous voices that we've had from real people in a while? Like, so what I'm saying is, instead of using that as your argument, because that argument has a bunch of other things, there are other things you can talk about, whether it be bittiness or whether you talk about inflection's a big deal, the Indian inflection of something, even though we've seen that in other games by humans. And I'm not talking about Hitman 47 because I think that character is that. But, you know, you get those games where, just like movies with bad actors, but it's uncomfortable because it feels like you're attacking the person. And you might be in a way, but you don't need to be. I used to go in a little bit harder on people. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what, though? What if they didn't have the time? Or what if somebody didn't give them multiple try? Like Clint Eastwood is known for not giving multiple takes. So he hires very specific actors he's investigated. It makes sense. So instead of going after the person, I'll go after the situation or how stupid they sound or whatever, but not as a person. I'll just be like, you know, this voice wasn't done well. Music can happen too. Johnny, let's be honest, man. We played some games with some shit
have some
music.
Stinkers.
Yeah, you can have some shit music.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a thing. I mean, just like shit graphics, it's a thing. It happens. And you just have to sort of figure out how you're going to talk about it.
Yeah, like how many games have had like elevator, you know, jazzo.
Muzak. Yeah.
Muzak.
Sort of where it's like,
and you know, it was made by people.
Yeah.
Now some of it might be made by AI.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, times we live in.
Yeah. And then you also have the complete now, because making your models, people, oh, you know, this was trained on a person's voice or people's voice in the internet,
Sure.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That is actually not required anymore. You can train voices and models and stuff that have technically no basic training from people anymore, and do it with your people now, because you can what's called training via synthetic. So you get one person, you make them give you a ton of lines. Maybe they pretend to be a female, they pretend to be a super low voice, super high voice, blah, blah, blah. You adjust those slightly and you retrain your model with a synthetic voice set. Those are now getting so good that it's hard to tell. I mean, voice changers are hard to tell too. I heard a voice changer recently that wasn't even using AI, and I was like, oh, that does sound like a kid. Like, they did a really good job of sounding like a child.
And that's much more defensible, because the people involved would give their consent to all that.
Yeah. Moving on from there, what else we got?
Should we speed run through a couple final questions here? Since we're kind of out of time.
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Loser Mai was talking about the price point of the Steam machine. He kind of touched on that. He was saying it's already outdated in terms of hardware. Even now, it's going to come out later. And if this thing is over $400, do you think it will stand a chance to succeed?
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of touched on. I mean, do you have anything else to add?
$800. Yeah, no. Other than I think if it's under 500, it could do quite. Depends on what we have, but it could do quite well. Yeah. Well, and then once you go to 1,000, you'll still have a bunch of Valve fans who will buy it. I mean, they're selling to their fan. That device is really, it's like
true.
A lot of it was geared towards fans.
Fan device. Mm-hmm. Yeah. AJ says, what's a game you loved that you're afraid to replay in case it doesn't hold up? Afraid to replay. Bully?
I'll replay Bully, but I'm pretty much done with KOTOR. I used to play KOTOR a lot, and then one time I played it, and I remember sitting back. I was sitting on the floor, sitting against my couch, and I was playing it.
Just reflecting. It's just like...
Yeah, I'd had enough. My brain was like, listen, dude. Listen, let's move. Let's move on. So yeah, KOTOR.
Yeah, I think for me, like the old Final Fantasies, like Final Fantasy VII and stuff, I just don't want to replay it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I just don't want to replay it.
I agree.
Because I have a good memory of it, and it's completely like rosy glasses. So
yeah, for sure.
Last one from Sully. He says, when do you remember first being excited for the level of exploration a game offered? For me, it was Mercenaries 2 on PS2.
Oh, the game is so good. Mercenaries 2 are so good.
Yeah.
Man.
Good question, Sully.
Daggerfall, for sure. Daggerfall got me into games.
Yeah, exploration.
Yeah, I mean, when was the first time you walked out into an area? Like, was it a Fallout or something? Or?
Probably Final Fantasy VII, because in the second act, you step out into Midgar, and it's like this big world. And then eventually you get like the ship to move. You got like the chocobos that allow you to go through rivers, and that kind of blew my mind. Yeah, that probably the first one.
Mercenaries was one. I was with Denovan from the Discord. Denovan, my real life friend. We were playing Mercenaries 1, and they did it right, man. They didn't add a bunch of shit that had nothing to do with mercenaries. It was almost all money based. You're mercenaries, and at the time there was a lot of attempts to mix in random shit, and instead you just had 3 goofy ass characters, each one built like a little triangle of attitude. And of course, Matthias is the best, but they had these guys in, and it was the guy who played the devil in Constantine. He did the voice. The guy from the Dark Anthology series. I just remember being like, holy shit, man. And it felt so good. It was so dumb, but it was so good at the same time. And it was, dude, bad graphics, janky, FPS issues all the time. And I was still like, it was just pure fun. That's why fun factor matters. Because if I was reviewing that even back then, I'd be like, there's a lot of problems with this game. But when it comes to pure, like, holy shit, this is hilarious, fun. Like, when you're being entertained, whatever that thing may be, you're like, my spirit is entertained. That's fucking Mercenaries. Like, start to finish. Game was awesome. What about Fallout or Skyrim? Did you feel that in those? Or
definitely.
But more,
absolutely.
But Final Fantasy was first.
Yeah, I mean the scope of Skyrim was way bigger. I think
Yeah.
that at the time was the biggest thing in scope that I had ever experienced.
Did you
It blew my
notice,
mind.
because it could be first and third person, did you notice that like it felt different than Final Fantasy VII, which was a top-down map? Like, did
Yeah.
that make a difference?
Yeah,
to you?
definitely. And going into towns, right, and being able to talk to everybody, and all the interaction and stuff. Because it was the first Bethesda game that I played, Skyrim. I hadn't played any of the older ones.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
that explains a bit. For me, it was like, whoa, this is possible. So, yeah, that was incredible.
Can I
man.
talk about the genius?
I think
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go.
No, go on.
No, you go. What were you gonna say?
Just gonna say, I never even finished Skyrim, but I played it so much. I've played it like over 100 hours easily, right?
Yeah.
And done so many playthroughs, but never actually
I was just going to say the
committed to
genius
finish.
of that game, the genius of that game, as well as Oblivion, Morrowind does it, is they start out in a super small contained area, and you have these little moments before it opens up. And I think Fallout fell asleep a little bit on that, where you were inside the vault and you just sort of had a birthday in one of them, and it was a little bit, there was some shooting and stuff, but it wasn't done as well. But in Skyrim, you basically just, you get your stuff, you start walking out, you fight a bear, you do some stuff in this, you learn stealth for a brief second, you learn archery for a brief second. You're always, it's perfectly paced, man, for their type of game. And then you you walk out of the fucking cave, and you're on the slope, and you look down, and the music starts to play as you come out, and you're like, what the fuck? I mean, because there's something about the hero. They call it hero moment. I hate that term because it's sort of goofy. But anyway, you come out and you notice that. The same thing happened in Morrowind. You're on a boat, and a guy's like, and who are you? And you answer, you write stuff. Then you go in, you can see the land, but you're filtered into this area to tell the people who you are and what your skills are. And you come out into it's a pretty small village, but they set the village smartly up where left and right to leave are pretty short. But there's a distance there if you want to stay in. And there's a couple quests that are like learning things, waiting, how to use time to your advantage, waiting and stealth mixed together. You wait for a guy to do something at the tree trunk to figure out what he's hid in the tree trunk. You wait till nighttime.
Yeah.
Little tiny things that honestly, man, people don't give Bethesda. That's why I hated Starfield starting. It was none of that. Starfield starting was clumsy. And it's
no subtlety there.
No. There's once you beat it too, there's less subtlety. But and Daggerfall probably also not a great starting, but yeah, and then Oblivion did the same thing with the jail. Those three games, man. Oblivion, when you come out of the jail in Oblivion,
yeah, absolutely.
Dude, come on. Like, even if you don't like Bethesda games, you got to look at that and go like, dude, they know what the fuck they're doing for like giving you a little data. And then you come out and you're like, oh, fuck, I can. And it makes it feel bigger.
Like, here's the world before you.
Yeah. It's so smart because instead of big to small and then back to big for the open world, they're super small, very tight little locations to just. And it makes even a nation or a region or a town look huge. It's super smart. It's because it's very effective and efficient. And when you come out, you see
contrast.
Yes. And then they always love to shine a little like water. If you notice in Oblivion, you got the lake, and in Skyrim you come out and there's the fucking. I guess it's not a lake; it's more like a river or whatever going near the city. And then in Sayadine, or Sayadine, I can't remember if I'm pronouncing that right. In Morrowind, there's the swamps, and there's always the dichotomy of like land, swamp, small, and then getting to this massive place. And they hit all three like right when you come out, and fucking masterpiece, at least for those three games, for how to like shock you into going, oh fuck, that's how you introduce a game. But sorry, I went off on that. It's just
no, that was a fun tangent.
Dude, it's smart. They're fucking stuff.
Yeah.
Again,
they know what they're doing.
They know what the fuck they're doing with the delivery, except for Starfield. Started in a cave.
Then again, some great moments in Starfield.
No.
It's just that,
I like
it didn't
Starfield.
hit.
I have no issue with liking Starfield. It's got its issues. I meant the starting where you're in the little mine and they have you mine.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of why that bothers me. Morrowind, you were a prisoner and now you're release, right? Oblivion, you were in a prison, release. right? Okay, those fit. Skyrim, you're in the fucking cave, release, freedom. Starfield, walking around, mining. You literally become a prisoner and have to mine. Like, it just doesn't, it's not, and it's not, you have to. Like, the game is like forcing you to stop and do these things. Skyrim and Oblivion, there are parts where they sort of do that, but there's something about the way Starfield makes you grab something, go another way, do a thing, and you're like, dude, I'm not a miner. The others are about escaping into freedom. This one is like, oh, you are free, but you have to do this real quick. And it feels like a task. It feels like a, it feels more mechanical.
You're still beholden. Like you're still
even for
the
a brief
miner
moment.
guy,
Yeah.
weirdly.
Exactly. Like, it could have started out where you wake. It's been long enough. You could start out where you imagine this. What if you start out and there was an accident and there's a cave in. So you start out, you're lay down, you blink, and the guy over here, instead of saying, oh, you're finally awake, he says, oh, you're finally awake. So you crib back to Skyrim. Oh, you're finally awake. You sit up and you guys are trapped. And he's like, we're going to die. You use a couple dialogues to get him to calm down. And then you're like, we got to look around. So then you look around, you find the mining gun, and that helps you get through the cave in. That's it. That would be a way. And then you regurgitate at the end of the game and revolve back. That would have worked. It sounds like a small thing, but the cycle of that would work so much better than going like out, down, do a thing, turn around, talk to some people, go back out, and then go into a little tiny colony, which they should have also started in a city, because all the other games started somewhere nice.
I think so.
Starfield started in a pretty podunk. They should have picked one
give
of the
me
locations.
A wow
yes.
moment to jump
Dude,
into.
kill a city. Hey, hate that game all you want. To kill a city's fucking awesome. That's like Firefly. Awesome. You have ships landing. It looks like Wild West. Neon looks like Cyberpunk. Yeah. I mean, you could have
exactly. I mean, take me to the penthouse day one. Like the first thing.
Yep. You could definitely do it. Anyway, that was my diatribe. That went on.
Fun tangent.
Yeah. That it for us? Do you want to do some science? Oh my God, we're at 3 hours and 40. I thought we were at 3 hours. I did misread that.
We're completely busted on time.
Yeah, we busted time. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, because we'll cover science stuff at the end of the last one. I legit did look, and it was 2:48 when I said we have some time. And I thought it was like 3. So, what are you going to stream this weekend?
That's funny. I think it's going to be, a little bit of League, but thinking of doing some Megabomb. I've been exploring that as a bit of like a low brain power, relaxing game. It's been pretty nice. Yeah.
Very cool. And from me, in all honesty, I've got a couple games, and I don't think I can talk about any of them, but they're not, they're not too far away. So you guys should see some videos.
Some COD this week.
Yeah, we'll do some COD probably, and then when I have time. But then, I've got a couple games to fucking jump into, so that should be cool. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We absolutely appreciate it. Appreciate you guys posting about this, spreading the word. It should go live on Spotify and iTunes at 3:30 p.m. my time, Pacific Standard Time, so about 1 hour, hopefully, as long as nothing goes weird with the upload. That is it for us. If you get a chance, check out the Discord, Patreon, and so forth. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.